And the fact that there are rumors that these guys have been mining around the foundations of the city, some of the large buildings in the city of Johannesburg, which potentially does make buildings unstable. You might even find the Gauteng provincial legislature collapsing if there are zama-zamas under there as well. But what I'm saying to you is, how sure are we that there's not going to be further disasters in Johannesburg because of zama-zamas? What are you doing, and what are your law enforcement capabilities in protecting the residents of Johannesburg from catastrophic events like what happened at Lillian and Ngoyi Street? So I think that really is a direct failure of government. And we certainly wouldn't want to see a repeat of that or a large building collapse in Johannesburg. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. Just two questions from my side. One, Premier, a number of your municipalities are struggling to pay key creditors like Eskom and Rainwater within the legislated timelines. And when these debts are not paid on time, communities are left without basic services like water and electricity. So what is it that you are doing in that regard to assist those municipalities? Secondly, MEC for Finance, the HGSA has raised the issue of over-reliance on consultants on matters of financial reporting in municipality as one of the challenges that in Gauteng, the cost for financial reporting consultant increased from 57.15 million rands in 22-23 to about 70.13 million rands in 23-24. So what are you doing to build internal capacity in municipalities to reduce the issue of over-reliance on consultant with regards to issues of financial reporting? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Before we proceed, may I just announce this? We're not going to do a tea break. We're going to have each individual who wish to refresh, go up there, go to the door on my extreme right, and then you'll see a way into the tea area. So we will just proceed. For those who haven't been with us, these members here ruled and decided there shall be no tea break. There shall just be work break. Please proceed.
Premier, let me start by welcoming the establishment of the task team on killings. We must protect councillors, officials and community leaders who are being targeted. Also welcome your prioritization of fighting crime, particularly kidnappings, cash in transit, bombings and other organized crime. Where I come from in Buffalo City, we see between 2 and 4 kidnappings a week, not to mention cash in transit. And we have found that there's a link between Gauteng and the Eastern Cape. So on your Premier's forum, we would like you to maybe extend what you are doing here to the Eastern Cape. Premier, also welcome the re-establishment of the intergovernmental relations structures. However, it must be noted that these structures have been in place since 2005 under the intergovernmental relations framework. Premier, we would want to know what assurances do you have that they will now function effectively to improve municipal oversight and service delivery. Second, lastly, Chair, the SIU reported to our Standing Committee on Public Accounts that they do not receive feedback from certain metros after their investigations. Premier, we would like you to follow up specifically. It's in the Gauteng metros that they have not come back to them. The last question is that 97 state-owned properties were identified as occupied by government officials and only 33 with electricity prepaid and 1 water meter, and that is the municipalities in Gauteng. What is Public Works going to be doing with regards to that and the follow-up? Thank you very much.
Last one.
Thank you, Chair. You know, we're gonna hear a lot of horror movies here today, like we've had at Scopa in our meetings. And Chair, you've been in the Free State, you've been in the Northwest. Same thing is going to happen here today. And it's unfortunate that the ever hard-working Premier is finding himself in this mud. You know, I'll give you an example, you know, in terms of what the MEC has said about the open tender system and public participation. It's a PR stand, I can tell you now. We received letters from different business people. One, the open tender system which was done at Galaga Estate, where the people from, you know, your scholar transport, your school nutrition program, those matters are in court as we speak. Some people who were aware the tenders, the MEC, have no warehouses. They don't have a warehouse at all. And the bid specification is very clear about that. Now, we are, as my colleague has already said, the officials are corrupt to the core. And some of them are black professionals, highly qualified, but they are letting us down. I'll leave that for the city of Johannesburg. Chair, my last point is, those who knows Colosseum, those who knows Razzmatazz, those who knows Johannesburg, this is not Johannesburg anymore. That, what we are talking about, that street is been paved for 192 million. But that will come later. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Let's get the comments, the responses. Please proceed, Premier.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me start with the first question on the SIU. Yes, the SIU is our service provider. We have a service level agreement. We didn't want to duplicate. They've got the capabilities, the capacity to trace money, forensic. They've got all those systems, so we can't duplicate them, and they've got the systems. So we've entered into a formal agreement with them, service agreement with them. When we need a forensic work, we assign them, they do that, they invoice us, we pay them. They're a government institution, by the way. So it's not like a service provider where you need to take quotations and a tender. No. They're a government institution. For example, if you have to vet somebody from Home Affairs, they're a service provider, they offer that service to us. So, yes, SIU are the only provincial government, I think, that have made and entered that, and it has assisted us. There are lots of, as I said, wait in the next few weeks, they will be releasing a report about Tembisa Hospital. It's out of that agreement that they managed to know that there are problems at Tembisa Hospital. And we have also assigned them to investigate a hospital that went over the normal amount that we've allocated. They investigated that. And when they have made their investigation and we need proclamation from the president, it becomes easier. You can see the number of proclamations that Gauteng has got from the president is because of this partnership. So to us, it's a very, very important partnership because of their capacity, their resources. Even our lifestyle audits are done by SIU as part of that agreement. And because they're an arm of the state, they can track bank accounts, trusts of people, the cars people have bought. So they're indeed a service provider, and we've got a full service level agreement with them on these issues. All matters about the open tender, I'll leave it to MEC Maile to deal with this thing. The crime strategy that I think is almost, when did you sign the formal agreement, MEC Mamabulo? April. It started in April this year, where all councils passed that we're pulling our resources together. I mean, you can't have a small city, for example, Morafong, expect that it can deal with Zamazamas. But if you bring Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, into Morafong to fight Zamazamas. You have capacity, you've got resources. And that's the reason why we believe this. And it has assisted us a lot. I mean, we've recovered so many things. The list from drug lords, as I said in my opening remarks, that 1,070 people that were wanted in Gauteng, we managed to arrest them through this process. So it has really given us good results. And it's not me to say that, which is something that is unfortunate. Other people don't want to acknowledge that. The only province that has reduced crime is Gauteng, drastically. Check the last quarter report from the Minister of Police, 7.9% reduction in crime in Gauteng. There are two areas that are stubborn, that have continued to increase. It's kidnappings and sexual-related offenses. That's where we are putting up our energy. But overall, reduction in crime, 7.9. So we can see we have made a huge dent, still not enough on my standard if you take the number of criminal activities that we have. We identified almost 450, we reduced it to 250, people that are causing crime in Gauteng. What we said about these people is that we are not going to wait for them to commit crime. We know they've avoided their bail. We know they are wanted by other provinces. We know they are hiding in our province. And we know the things that they've been accused. They've been released in court because of technicalities. We've profiled 250 of them. And through partnership with the private sector, the private security companies, forensics and technology-related companies, we are tracking these criminals. Of the 250, 118 have been arrested. And unfortunately, 18 of them have been reconnected with their creator up there. So that's the concerted efforts that we are putting to fight crime in our province, the strategies and the programs that we have. We are quite aware yesterday, a top kingpin was tracked and killed on the R21. Last month, 5 cash heist people were killed here in Nasrec because of the tracking system and the support that we've given to the police. We are the only province that have given police 3 helicopters. 3. This province didn't have a helicopter, or SAPS didn't have a helicopter. We as the provincial government have donated 3 helicopters to the police. So we have, you know, if we can't in this province, forget the province. And that is why we are putting all these resources to assist us. And I'll come to the issue of the Zamazamas and other things. I'm glad to have raised the issue of the Dolomatic because that's a frustration that we have. And this matter has been there for quite some time. I think in the last 7 years, as this government, when I joined this government, we've been writing letters to relevant authorities. Because disasters are managed at national level, especially key disasters at that proportion. An exchange of letters, meetings, I don't know how many community meetings we have addressed there, how many people have relocated. So I've been working very hard to avoid this thing of the Dolomite. But the state and the nature of it is unprecedented. It's not only because of Zamazamas, because that was a mining area. Those that have mined and took our diamonds and golds and left this country with our resources, they've left us with a problem. They're enjoying our money wherever they are. We have to deal with their problem. So it's not about government alone. And I can see your attitude to think that is a government problem. It's not a government problem. It's a mining problem. And those mines were supported by an apartheid system, protected, just to loot and take resources of our country and leave us with the problem that we have. And that's why this matter is the way it is. Honorable Chair, it's very unfortunate that I'll be asked whether the provincial government have to provide water. Very, very unfortunate. It's a constitutional mandate, and a member of this legislature, of this parliament, is saying provincial government still believe that you need to provide water. What we have done, we have coordinated activities to ensure that municipalities provide water. It's not a constitutional mandate of government or provincial government. It's clear it's there, unless I've missed something that needs to be attended to. So what we've done, Chair, with water, we've now finally agreed to a special purpose vehicle between Water and Fuleni, which is going to assist that municipality to provide water. We have established a war room that meets on Sundays with the national minister, including all municipalities, to attend to deal with the issue of water. 3 weeks ago, with the president, we've opened a new purification plant here that will provide water. We've gone on a massive infrastructure because the infrastructure of water in our province is aging. It has been established in the 1880s. It's getting old. So we went on a massive infrastructure improvement with our municipalities. And on the basis of that, we are ready to receive water from the Lesotho Highlands. Government have put a huge investment. That water will come through here. But I can tell you, honorable members, we don't have a problem or shortage of water. We have a problem of 3 things: non-payment, illegal connection, and aging infrastructure. If we sort out the 3, the challenges of water in our province will be resolved. And we are hard at work to deal with this. Fortunately, we've got a state-owned enterprise called Water that is doing exceptionally well. So it's assisting us to unlock and unblock some of these challenges so that we don't have a problem of water. But with the national minister and the deputy minister, we are meeting literally quarterly or monthly to attend to water issues in our province because we've prioritized it as one area that needs. I suspect the municipality will respond on the issue of Lydia Ngoi. I've indicated I was not invited at the opening, so I don't know how it is, but I think that here there was. But to assume that it was due to Zamazamas, I think that's a wrong diagnostic. I was part of the team that brought all the experts to determine what caused that explosion. And it was finally indicated that it's not Zamazamas. So then to blame them, I think it's not a correct approach. Obviously, we should be worried that there are Zamazamas that are doing wrong things. I had the honor to request the president to give us a certain number of soldiers. Those soldiers were brought here, and they've done the work. We want them to continue, so we'll continue to request the president to give us those so that we can finish these problems of Zamazamas in our province. It's a serious problem that I will request members not to politicize it. It's a very, very serious matter, this thing of Zamazamas. Thanks, Chair of SCOPA. I think I'll leave majority of the issues that we've raised with MEC Maile. Sorry, SCOPA member, sorry. The task team on killings, indeed, kidnappings, murder, especially within the taxi industry, and people that are contracted, they call them inkabi, that they're contracted to come and kill people in our province. We are now happy that finally, because this is not a mandate of the province as well, this policing thing. So we're happy that now the National Commission of Police have agreed to our process. And I'm glad that we've raised the importance of the Premier's Forum for coordinating and dealing with other matters that are common across all programs. Honorable Member, the issue of IGR, and that's the reason why we say, coalition governments are really created serious setbacks where we're working together. The IGR that we're activating here now, that the reports that we're giving here, there were municipalities that were run by other political parties that didn't want to participate in IGR. If there's one municipality that I want to praise, regardless of changes or regardless of who they are, they participate in IGR, is Midval. Even though they are led by another political party. But when the same political party was leading Tshwane and the same political party was leading Johannesburg, they did it in Ekurhuleni. They didn't want to be part of IGR. They wanted to plan alone, execute their attempts at the things alone. And it created serious problems. There's one mayor that was a mayor of Tshwane. I've never been in a meeting with him as a premier. He declined my meetings, he didn't come to IGR, he didn't participate in budgeting of the province. So what you see now as reorganization is thanks to the new leadership that are running these municipalities. And that's how we appreciate the importance of AGR, and we're protecting it to where we are now. And hopefully it will assist us to deal with other issues.
Let's round up, Premier.
I've just rounded up, Chair.
You just did.
Yes.
On time.
Yes.
Thank you. Please proceed. You've got just 2 minutes on your side.
No, thanks. Firstly, I must dispute the allegations that Honorable Member Skosana is making. They are not true, they are false. That the open tender, it's a public stand. We are not populists, so we don't run government through populism. Let me explain, Honorable Chair. The open tender, however, it doesn't mean that it's perfect. So I must indicate that it doesn't mean that it's perfect. It's not perfect. So to allege that it's a public stand, I think it's unfounded. So what we are doing, the honorable member was saying, shouldn't meetings, tender meetings be open to the public? In fact, that's what that open tender system is. What happens is that before we approve specifications, we appoint an independent auditing firm. That's the first thing we do. They look at the specifications, and then we advertise. After advertising, we receive documents, and those documents are then verified by the probity auditor. And then the BEC, which is a bid evaluation committee, sits and look at the processes, and that process is done in public. But it doesn't mean that it's perfect. And that's why when I spoke earlier on, I said we've went further to digitize tendering system, because we are not populists. We went further to digitize, and I said there's 5 departments, and I deliberately mentioned them and started with the Premier's office and Treasury, because we want to set the example that we are not playing about this thing. And I even said next year we're looking at implementing it in all departments. You know, to digitize, it means that there will be no paper that is going to exchange hands between individuals. It means people will not be able to interfere, because the system will be able to deal with things like compliance documents and all that. I don't know who else does it in the whole world. No one does it. We are saying we are going to do it. It can't be populist. It can't be populist. So if the honorable member says the system has got weaknesses, the system is not perfect, we will take that like any other system. But to say it's populist, I think personally I take exception, because I'm not a populist, at least as a person. So we will not agree to that. On the officials who are not paying, Chair, as I round up in the municipalities, I've written a letter to the mayors to ask them to monitor that. But I've also asked Treasury officials to look at the legality of imposing the same on all provincial government officials, including ourselves as public representatives. Because if we're in the public service, we can't owe municipalities. So we're looking at the legality of that. That's how serious we are about it. The issue of debt to ESCOM, we are working with municipalities, but as I've said earlier on, the issue of revenue collection, I think is at the center of that. We have had a revenue workshop with the municipalities to help them deal with the issues of revenue. And yeah, those are the issues. And then on the consultants, you know, Chair, I want to preface my answer by saying that the Constitution of the Republic places the executive and legislative authority of a municipality on the council, not on the provincial government. And then it goes further to talk about cooperative governance. It goes further to talk about oversight, the role that we must play, and support. I spoke about the 154. And
Are you responding on the issue of consultants?
Yes.
I think we are getting the wrong way. Finish, let me hear.
Okay. So what I want to say to the honorable member is that we are having programs to help, because the question was that what are we doing to build capacity in the municipalities? So I'm giving you a context to say whatever that we are doing should be within the constitutional context, so that we also don't seem to be interfering. So we are also training municipal officials. We are training even councillors. We are also training on MPEC and all that. So to the best of our abilities and within the powers that we have, we are playing our role. That's the point I wanted to raise, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. We'll accept that. Thank you very much. About. So we move on. Two members have just joined from the committee who are Honorable Saint van Wyk and then Honorable Sompa Masiu. Thank you. You have the first 5 minutes, Johannesburg. Just put your mic on.
And with due respect, Chair, I will really apologize if they've not done that. My office sent a communique about my limitation of time this morning, not to disrespect, because of I have to be outside of this province. We lost the deputy speaker of this, a former deputy speaker of this province, and we need to deal with some federal arrangements that over there. My apologies if they've not communicated that, Chair.
No, they haven't. But
MEC Mama Wolo is remaining with us.
Okay. No, that's fine. Let me just put one point, Premier. I do understand your sense of apologies and the MEC. We were just a bit concerned about the level of participation of the province. We don't have, except one. There was only one member of the legislature who I think might still be here. I just get a note now that the speaker also is unable to join us. I have not heard much about the provincial COCTA committee other than the one member. No, in fact, the one member is SCOPA. I've not heard about the provincial SCOPA. Part of the challenge we have is that the issues in the municipalities require regular, direct oversight by the province. So I just want to record that the presence of the provincial government here is too minimal to let go without a comment, and it's a matter of concern to us. You will be excused, as I've heard the MEC also saying the same. But I think in general, We have not had this kind of reception in the previous provinces. We're not taking it more as an issue between us and the province. We're just more concerned about the province and its municipalities. Thank you. City of Johannesburg. We do have an apology again from Mayor Dada. So it indicated that someone else is going to lead the delegation. So you are now welcome. Thank you. You introduce yourself, send the mic around, everybody introduce themselves. You've got 5 minutes. Give us about Johannesburg. We start the questions.
Angikhuleke Khabazela and to abantwana basendlunkulu and extend my greetings to all the members of the National Assembly, the Honorable Premier in his absentia, the MECs, MEC of Cooperative, all the colleagues that are present in the session. My name is Mlungis Mabaso. I'm the MMC for Human Settlements in the city. I'm acting executive mayor in this period while the mayor is overseas. I'm with the other MMCs. I will give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, but seated at the back, we've got MMC Mcina, who's the MMC for Development Planning, and MMC Mnisi, who's MMC for Economic Development, so they are not sitting in front here.
If you intended us to notice them, please ask them to show themselves. Don't point, ask them stand. Thank you. We wouldn't know who is who, but it's fine. At least we know there are two MMCs there.
Okay, so MMC Mnisi, and you can stand up, MMC Mnisi. She's responsible for economic development. Then there is MMC Mcina, who's also responsible for development planning.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, members of the Portfolio Committee, the Honorable Premier in absentia, all MECs present, the Acting Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso, the Acting City Manager, Mr. Kiba Kekana, members of the Mayoral Committee present, and City of Johannesburg CFO and Co. My name is Margaret Arnolds. I am the current Speaker of the City of Johannesburg. I thank you.
A very good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Loyiso Masuku. I'm the member of the Mayoral Committee for Finance in the City of Johannesburg.
It's working. Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Kiba Kekana, the Acting City Manager, City of Joburg.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Tsepo Makola. I'm the Chief Operations Officer in the City of Johannesburg.
Chair, just to indicate that we've got the CEO of City Power and the MD of Joburg Water and the head of GIRAS, which is Risk and Audit, as well as Forensics, and the head of our strategy. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, all members of Parliament, Premier, MECs, Acting Executive Mayor, and all MMCs, City Manager, colleagues. My name, Chair, is Tebogo Moraka. I'm the CFO for the City of Johannesburg.
Thank you very much. We have 5 minutes of the presentation, and thereafter we'll deal with the questions. And just as a matter of interest, if you might think there might be a need for some of the managers at the back to answer questions, you will just, in the process, pull one chair and get them to come to the front. They'll answer. We would like to see those who are answering face to face. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, once again. We thank the Joint Committee for affording us an opportunity to formally table our responses to the question raised by the Joint Committee. At the outset, Chair, allow me to state unmistakenly that the City of Johannesburg takes seriously the matters raised by the Auditor General and other oversight bodies. We do not view these findings as routine or procedural. Rather, we regard them as critical signals pointing us towards areas where our governance system and service delivery must improve. The City Manager and the team will shortly deliver a high-level presentation to guide members through responses and outline corrective measures that we are being implementing. These interventions reflect not only compliance with law and audit requirements, but our deeper commitment to the residents of Johannesburg. Our goal is a resilient, well-governed city that delivers reliable services, manages resources prudently, and rebuilds public trust. As we present our response report today, we do so in a spirit of humility, accountability, and determination. We acknowledge the concerns raised, and we also reaffirm our commitment to corrective action and continued improvement. The City of Johannesburg remains steadfast in pursuing reforms that will strengthen our institution, stabilizing our trading entities, and ultimately serve the people of Johannesburg with dignity and reliability. So I will, through you, Chairperson, I will allow the acting City Manager to present the formal responses that we have submitted to the Joint Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, honorable members. Let me see. The purpose of the presentation is in accordance with the communique that we received from the Portfolio Committee. And the presentation provides a structured overview on the Auditor General's findings for 2023-2024, the city's contextual response, as well as corrective actions. Also measures to strengthen governance, accountability, and financial sustainability. We also have a roadmap of achieving clean audits and improved service delivery. The audit outcomes review, the city achieved an unqualified audit opinion for the third consecutive year, and we're noting that is part of what the Auditor General has raised in terms of those past 3 years being almost at the same place. 2 entities, we're happy to report that they received clean audits demonstrating areas of strong governance. There's Joburg Water and the Johannesburg Theatre. However, adjustments to the annual financial statements were required. I think it's a point that was made that for us to get an unqualified audit report, it was because of some adjustments that were made. But I want to make that point that they are required in terms of Section 122 of the MFMA, particularly with regards to property, plant and equipment, as well as property rates and the issue of depreciation, which is generally linked to the issue of asset management and key issues related to that around the automation thereof. AG raised concerns that the city relies too heavily on audit adjustment to achieve, that aspect. We have taken note of that. We've got responses, and I just want the CFO just to continue, the group CFO just to continue providing those specific, audit responses based on this presentation. CFO?
Please remember you're doing that within your 5 minutes.
Chair, thanks. I think I won't take too much time since I'm sure 3 minutes have gone. So in terms of the Section 112 adjustments to the financial statements for the City of Johannesburg, it was linked to our assets, in particular work in progress, capitalization thereof, in particular our mega projects, which are supposed to be compartmentalized and classified and capitalized as components when they are ready for use, and obviously then the depreciation linked thereof. It also looked at our impairments, in particular bad buildings that we do have, and some of the infrastructure projects that came to a halt for various reasons. A key one really being Rea Vaya, where there was issues with the bus operating companies that we have now sorted. A new contract has been issued, and you would have seen quite a lot of work happening in Sandton, for example, as part of Phase 1CA of the Rea Vaya. We also looked at the information around performance reporting and the controls that we have put in place, water losses and electricity losses that equate to around 8 billion losses a year, which is a significant amount of money that we are also looking at as the City of Johannesburg. Firstly, in terms of infrastructure investment, dealing with the illegality that the Premier spoke about, and obviously the vandalism of our infrastructure. But I think the key one there is really investment into that infrastructure. So part of the mayoral Lekgotla resolutions, Chair, was to make sure that our budget is particularly targeted towards the infrastructure entities in the City of Johannesburg. That has resulted in a move where more than half of our budget goes to the infrastructure departments and entities, and in the medium term that 50% moves up to 65%, and we'll continue doing that to stabilize our infrastructure in the main, Chair. We also, obviously, as part of our response, speak about the terms of reference of the Audit Committee, the establishment of the disciplinary board, and the investigations that have been done on UIFWE that has gone through MPEC and the various boards of the entities, and therefore has been regularized, and you will see the impact in the 24-25 financial statements that were just submitted to the Auditor General and National Treasury on the 31st of August. I think, Chair, the rest I will leave. The detailed response was given in the presentation in order to comply with the 5 minutes, and we'll move towards questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We will start the questions. Honorable members, let's have a sense. All right, that's fine then. Where's the mic? All right. You want to start? That's fine. You will start. We'll move this way. 1 minute each, or then we'll move to the next. Let's move on.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My first question to the City of Johannesburg, and it's got nothing to do with being populist or trying to cover anything here. You know, I know truth hurts, or some people are involved. We've got evidence. I mean, people are giving us evidence, Chair. I'm not going to say something out of blue. I'm going to tell you facts as they are. Whether you take them or not is up to you. And I'm sorry to say that, Chair, to you, because some other things are really concerning, that the arrogancy which we have encountered at Scopa as well, both in Parliament by ministers for that matter. And some of us are not scared to confront those things as they are. One, I'm going to speak here about the bus service in the City of Johannesburg. What is the status of those bus services? Because there's a lot of things about those bus service. I just want to hear from the city itself. What is the status? Because the bus were once upon a time, the now resigned MMC, Kenny Gunene was involved in that, and there were buses which were procured, you know, elsewhere, and you'll give facts on that. My last one will be the Bree Street, Lilian Goyi Street. Why is that street being paved? Because the specification of that Lilian Goyi, there's no paving there. Because I've got that spec here. I've got the evidence. So I want to know why. And why was it given to foreign nationals? Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. My question is going to be on the SIU. Allegations from a whistleblower on irregular procurement processes and awarding of tenders at the Metro. And this goes back to already in 2018. However, the SIU reported to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts that several requests were made with no feedback from the Metro on the status of referrals emanating from the findings of the investigations. Are you actually dealing with the investigations? Have you responded since? And has there been consequential management taken with regards to any of these allegations? Thank you. The last one is back to state-owned properties. How many state-owned properties in the Metro are occupied by government officials in the Metro? Thank you.
Sorry, what is that? You're asking, is the government houses, or you're talking about buildings that just get it clear what are we talking about?
There are properties that government officials are occupying. And
is that residential?
It looks as though it's residential because they're talking about the electricity prepaid meters.
Okay.
And so it is residential.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Let's take the next one.
Thank you, Chair. The city seems to be stagnated on unqualified audit opinion with findings for the past 5 years. And one of the findings is that the action plans are not adequately implemented and monitored. What could be the reasons for that? A prohibited award was awarded. It's worth 13.34 million. It was awarded to suppliers who owned or managed by other state officials. I would like to know what are the reasons for that, and were there any consequence management that was implemented? The AGSA flagged that majority of Metro's entities relied on the audit process to produce credible financial statement. What are the reasons for that? Is that the lack of capacity? Lastly, Chair, it is stated that the disciplinary board is non-functional on the AG's report. Could we be taken into confidence? Why?
No, thank you very much, Chair. The HGSA.
Okay, I wanted the answers, but you have started talking. Let's finish.
All right. Yeah, it's just one point from me, Chair. I think the HGSA is raising the issue of poor consequence management, that you are not seen actively holding people accountable for wrongdoing. Can you update us regarding that? Because it's one of the matters that the HGSA raised in 2023-2024. Thanks, Chair.
Response? May we have the response to all the questions? Is that you make very concise, direct. If I think it's wandering, I do try stopping and guiding. Please start with the question that you can answer.
I will, thank you, Chair. On the disciplinary board and consequence management, the City of Joburg, actually the council approved the disciplinary board in 2024 after it was re-established when we came back into administration. Chair, the functionality of the disciplinary board has improved immensely in the past 18 months. We have already, through council, taken 18 matters for investigation of alleged financial misconduct. Out of those 18 matters, 6 are in full investigation with 1 billion, 12 of the matters with 2.2 billion are also at investigation stage. One of the recommendations we also made to the Section 79 committee in council 2 weeks ago was the frequency of the disciplinary board, because at the moment it sits quarterly, and one of the recommendations that the Section 79 committee on the oversight for governance made was that the frequency should be monthly, so that we actually expedite the cases of financial misconduct. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think one should respond on the issues around Bristol, because there have been quite a number of issues that have been raised. But I do wish to indicate that the first contractor was terminated due to poor performance. We were not satisfied with their work and the pace of the contractor, and the work commenced with the civil works, replacing all the pipes, the cables underneath, and we had to extend the scope of work as well to incorporate certain amenities like your trading spaces. But there's also a new infrastructure that has been installed, your traffic signals, the new ventilation shafts, the gas venting system to prevent the maintenance build-up. The use of the paving was deliberately used just for sustainability, because we know that paving is more sustainable than the tarring, considering the amount of rain that we have experienced in Johannesburg, but also to improve on our stormwater drainage system. But also, Priest Street is one of the busiest streets within the CPD. So the volume of motorists there, we felt it's prudent to utilize the material that will be sustainable, the material that will be strong, that will be able to contain the volume of traffic that street enjoys on daily basis. But if there are any technical matters that the committee will seek clarity on Priest Street, will then allow the administration to respond on that. But I will also request them to talk to issues of the appointment of the foreign national, because as politicians we don't get involved in those procurement spaces, and I think it's appropriate to allow officials to respond on that.
Thanks. Chair, just to provide details on the question and to support the response from MMC Finance. So in terms of the functionality of the disciplinary board, and this is linked to the consequence management. So there are already 6 reports that we dealt with as the board, and they link to the MTN contract, the construction of the Protea Glen fire station, the recovery, we recovered 200 million from SEP, the SARS issue, and then the payment of fire engines. So in relation to consequence management, 2 senior managers were taken for discipline through the labor relation process. And as the disciplinary board, we were concerned that one of the employees was dismissed. Based on the dismissal of the senior manager, the other employee then lodged a dispute, which the bargaining council then ordered reinstatement. However, as the board, we are now re-looking at the matter from a financial misconduct perspective, because monies were paid in advance, and we think we will then recharge the employees based on the financial misconduct regulations. In relation to MTN, again, disciplinary process was undertaken. A senior manager was dismissed as well. However, as the board, disciplinary board, we felt that 3 other managers that were involved had not been taken through a disciplinary process, and therefore will recommend. Council has approved now that we may proceed. In terms of the construction of Protea Glen, where the city paid a 2.5 million fine to the province. The director responsible for that project was dismissed, and that matter is then closed. We started with the process to recover the money from the consulting firm that was appointed as consultation for the construction, and that process is ongoing. It's actually at the courts to recover that money. As I said, the 6th one was the recovery of 200 million from SEP, which came from the project at ICT that came as a part of investigations that we've dealt with. So, Chair, just to demonstrate that the DC board is in fact effect and consequence management has been infected. Council has already approved on the 13 new cases that we are dealing with as a disciplinary board, and we are getting the final disciplinaries. Chair, I do want to look at the issue around the, and I'm not sure if members Kosana was talking about, so we have 2 bus services in the city. We have the bus rapid transport, which is BRT, which is fully functional. I think one of the audits that came out from the AG was that the new route had not been operational, but we had concluded construction. So indeed, as part of the feeder buses, and I think you are referring to the 10 feeder buses that we had bought for the phase 1CA, and those buses were bought as feeder, and that's what created the problems with the taxi associations. But we had gone through a formal process to procure those. Metro Bus is fully functional. We have procured about 13 new buses for them, and we've received 6 of those new buses, and the service is still functional. I think the acting mayor has covered Lillian Goy. In relation to, Chair, there's a question around the SIU investigations. And I'm not sure how to go straight to it, but all the SIU investigations, and I'll refer the one about procurement of fire engines that we were aware of. We participated with the investigation. We received the final report from the investigator. However, when we did the consequence management, the challenge became through the disciplinary process that the proclamation was made by the president. However, the final report was not signed by the president, and therefore it was becoming difficult for us to manage the case, because what the defendant raised was, give us the final investigation that has been signed by the president and not signed by the investigator herself. And that became an issue, and we wrote back to the SIU to say, please give us the final report, because it's the president who makes the proclamation. And in order for us, as part of a fair labor process, we need to provide the employees who are affected with the final report that has been signed by the president in order for the DC to continue. So we wrote back to the SIU and we requested that the final report must be signed. So as I've indicated, you may be referring to a different investigation report, but we have participated, and that I can assure you that was one of the projects that I was dealing with. And maybe if you are dealing with a specific SIU issue, we can deal with it. In relation to employees of the city who are residing in facilities that are owned by the city, there's a number of those. You'd recall that particularly in the emergency services, in the fire stations, we were required to work 24 hours, and therefore we had porting facilities. We had facilities in all the stations. So there's a number of those. That report, Chair, can be provided. We also have social housing facilities where we allocate them to employees of the city that either work for parks or that work in the different entities and departments, and that list can obviously be made available. But those are residential quarters that were designed from the previous administration, and therefore we've allocated them to staff that work in the municipality, particularly those that work for departments that are required for 24/7 facilities. So I think we've covered almost all the issues from that I could note. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine is going to be very short and precise. As Speaker and as Council, we don't shy away from truth. Our Oversight Committee, particularly the Public Accounts Committee, MPAC, has been strengthening their work to ensure that management actions plans are monitored. We've had a 3-day workshop of MPAC to ensure that we deal with the UIFWs, that repeat findings are reduced, and that consequent management becomes a reality rather than a theory. We are equally determined to improve the quality of our legislative oversight. This includes regular interrogation of in-year performance and financial reports. We are also strengthening MPAC's power to track implementation of remedial actions. We also insisting on transparency. I thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just take the audit questions around the adjustments that were made to the financial statements. Chair, as per our report, the biggest adjustments made to the City of Johannesburg financial statements were around assets, in particular our mega projects and our community assets. So what we have done, member, as part of improving that is to a strong emphasis on the interim audit around assets, making sure that they are verified, number one. Number two, if they are ready for use, let them be capitalized so that we can depreciate. If you would understand, if you are adjusting the financial statement at an asset level, it means that the depreciation in the income statement is also misstated. So number one, verification of the assets that are sitting in work in progress, making sure that whatever asset is ready for use is being capitalized, and whatever stays in work in progress is valid project that is still not ready for its intended use. So that we are monitoring also through the Operation Clean Audit Committee, which is co-chaired by myself and the head of internal audit. We give reports to our executive management team where we track any assets that are behind schedule and make sure that they are brought back to the required pace or in terms of implementation of that infrastructure, and making sure that they are recognized as capitalized in the financial statements. Number two, in terms of, I think the COO has already answered around the SOPs that we have in terms of employees of the state, because the contract that was actually picked up by the AG was around a SITA contract that we used, the State Information Technology contract, in buying laptops. It was not 13 million, and we've communicated that to the AG. Those laptops were around 133,000. We've put it in the report, and we've communicated to the AG as well. But also we've put in SOPs in our own procurement process, which we have detailed in terms of employing a tool, a digital tool, making sure before any award is done, that tool checks if there's that entity has got any employee of the state, any sphere of government, and that has drastically reduced any non-compliance in terms of any award to employees of state. I think everything else, Chair, has been covered. I just wanted to cover that part. Thanks.
That's fine. Let's proceed. As long as I think you are aware, Speaker, that the basis of the comment of the AG was on the record of 3 years of lack of action by the MPEC. So what would be more useful for us this time around is more about concrete timelines, actions and targets. What will happen when? That's really more the focus of the committee. So a general statement as an introduction of the exact plan is how we would like to look at it, so that we don't need to debate what should have been done or what needs to be done, how it is done, but what will be done with targets, with timelines. That's really what the focus of the committee is. Let's get the next members.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Patrick Atkinson, Scopa. So my first question relates to the President's disquiet about the state of Johannesburg and about the mayor's setting up of what was called the bomb squad to resolve all the issues. So my question is, what role does the bomb squad play, and how are they remunerated? And is that also an indication that the mayor actually doesn't have faith in his own MMCs? The second point was with regard to the 67 billion rand outstanding debt that you have, and the role that the War Room is playing in actually collecting that debt, and what you're doing about expanding the basis of money that is collected in Johannesburg. So I'm asking, what are you doing about getting money out of the communities that are not paying at the moment? So obviously you're going after the people who do pay, but what are you doing about the people who don't pay? The third question is Helen Botha still employed in the city of Johannesburg? And then the fourth question relates to your water losses. I know there are 10,000 kilometers of water pipes, in excess of 10,000 kilometers of water pipes in Johannesburg, but how much have you spent over the last 2 or 3 years in fixing up the water pipes? Because obviously, as I said, 33% water losses is massive and is a huge cost to Joburg. And then the final question is, what are you doing about that potential public-private partnership in renewing the sewers of Johannesburg? I was aware that you were looking at a contract with a private entity to renew the sewers of Johannesburg. Is that going ahead? Thank you.
Chair, can I go?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. Considering that City Power is spending more than what they are generating, should it not be placed under business rescue? Business trading reform program rolled out by National Treasury is a long-term project and does not deal with the immediate impact of non-performing entities, which could sink the city. Do you not think it would be viable for Eskom to take over City Power? Then on the water losses, it's actually 45% on water losses of its bulk water purchases, over 3 billion rand annually. Why has your administration allowed this crisis to escalate far beyond the national norm of 30%? Then on the Brixton Tower and reservoir, it hasn't been finished because Johannesburg Water stopped paying, and it supposedly the city took the money for other projects. Has the city taken Johannesburg Water capital budget away, or why has capital projects stopped? Then the city identified 42 leaking reservoirs, yet repairs are only set to begin in late 2025 and some as late as 2026. Why the delay, and what immediate interventions will you implement to stop billions of litres of water being lost right now? Then illegal connections remain rampant. AG found bylaw enforcement is weak because JMPD fails to provide protection to repair teams. What steps are you taking to ensure JMPD fulfills its mandate so that these illegal connections can finally be cut? And then, given all of these failures, who in your administration has been held accountable for continued loss of nearly half of Johannesburg's water supply, and what consequence management has been enforced? Thank you.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Can I go, sir?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I would like to know what is the percentage of your budget that you spend in the city of Johannesburg on infrastructure maintenance? Then I would also like to know, do you have an internal audit committee, and is it functional? And thank you for the information on the disciplinary board and impact, and you gave some numbers there. I would like to know, of all those cases that you mentioned that's been investigated, how many of them has been identified internally by your own internal control systems, and how many of those cases has been flagged by the Auditor General? Then I also would like to know the bomb squad that the mayor instituted, and we all are aware of the the presidential task team that has been visited the city of Johannesburg and has been established. What is the relationship between these two structures, and at this stage, what is the impact thereof on service delivery? Then cash management in the city is currently being financed by its trade creditors, and as a result of not collecting its own revenue, trade payables is currently over 18 billion and cash on hand only at 3.7 billion. Is long-term debt being utilized to fund short-term debt? And last question, why does the city still not have an MSCOA system for transactions? Thank you.
Let's hold it at that. Could we have some responses?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I would also like to introduce the MMC that has joined us now, MMC responsible for infrastructure, MMC Squaila, and the Whip of Council that have also joined us. Thank you very much. Chair, I will attempt to respond to some of the issues, then I will allow colleagues to elaborate further and respond to some of the issues as well. The MD for Johannesburg Water has also joined us so that he is able to provide technical responses on some of the issues that they've raised. Chair, the bomb squad, it's a group of individuals that were invited by the executive mayor to support the work that we are doing as the executive in turning around the city. So they are providing more support on service delivery related issues, while the presidential working group is more on administrative support. So there are no contradictions in their roles and responsibilities. And the members of the bomb squad are assisting us voluntary. They are not being paid by the city. It's former city employees. It's expect that they have interest in the development of the city of Johannesburg. The mayor does have confidence in his executive, and that's why we are here and he's not here, because he had confidence that he will be able to respond to all the issues that will be raised, supported by the administration, of course.
Now you are creating an issue. I have a letter from the mayor. He didn't say that. And the mayor has given another reason, but what you are saying is that the mayor decided is not coming here. You are good enough to do it. In other words, listen, forget about that committee. You guys can handle it. That's what you're saying.
No, the mayor is
I have the letter. I'm saying what you are telling us is not what the mayor told us.
It seems like we are not good enough. It seems like we are not good enough.
Okay.
You got a lowly committee there that doesn't need the mayor, just needs you got a team that will go and sort it out. That's what you're saying, what the mayor said.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Chair.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds.
All I'm saying, Chair, is that the mayor does have confidence in his executive.
No, you can't link that to your presence here. Okay. If you got an example of what you are doing in your organization, stick to that.
It's noted, Chair.
Okay.
On the issue of Ms. Helen Bottas, her contract expired. We've got the new CEO at JPC, so she is no longer an employee of the city. So I will allow the other colleagues to respond to some of the issues that have been raised.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. My name is Nchaben Mukwebo, Managing Director of Johannesburg Water. I'm going to be responding to questions relating to water. The first one, which talks about how much have we spent on the fixing of the pipes in the last year. I'm going to respond to that, Chair, using the kilometers. And of course, if the actual amount required, we can always provide that. In the last year, we've replaced, the year that ended now, we've replaced 20 kilometers of our 12,500 kilometers. Of course, that's not anywhere close to what we should be replacing. What we need to do is to be channeling more resources into this issue of pipe replacement. I think earlier, the COO indicated that the city have taken a decision that most of the capital budget will be going to the infrastructure entity and department. And we are seeing that through the investment going to pipe replacement in the current year where we are in, where an amount has been allocated to replace 85 kilometers. But of course, as we move forward, this still needs to increase, because considering the extent of the infrastructure, we need to be replacing at about 200 kilometers per annum. On the issue around the losses, indeed, it is quite high, and there is a strategy to deal with it. which does strategy focuses at both the infrastructure, issues of pipe replacement, reservoirs that are giving problem, as well as issues of dealing with commercial losses. I'm sure earlier we all had the Premier indicating some of the challenges of illegal connection, including the issue relating to a bypass meter and so on. But what I want to indicate on that issue of the number, part of it is for us to mobilize community to pay for services, which is what we are doing. Because the 45% or so number is not actually talking about the amount of water that are flowing on the street. It includes what we call authorized and billed consumption. This is the consumption that historically were consumed by area where they were billed flat rate, even though you find that you are being billed for 20 kiloliter, but you consume much more than that. So the actual losses technically, if you look at both physical and commercial, it's about 35%, with physical losses being about 25% of that 35. So physical is what really we are losing through pipes and so on. But of course, that 10% of authorized and billed consumption, it is a problem that we need to deal with it, and we are also dealing with it because ultimately everyone needs to pay for services, and those that can afford, they need to be on the indigenous register. On the leaking reservoirs, there are 22 reservoirs that we identified ourselves as reservoirs that when we do what we call drop test, this is assessment that we do to determine how much water you lose over a period. And those reservoirs, they are losing more than the norm. So we've started a process around fixing them. They are on our capital budget for this financial year going into next year. As I talk now, 3 of them we've appointed contractor already, and we should be appointing contractor for about 7 by end of this month. And the aim is that by end of November, we'll have appointed for 22 contractors that will be in dealing with these 22 reservoirs. So the program will be happening over a 2-year period, because the 22 is what is on our phase 1. And there is still others that we'll be looking at in the next financial year, with the aim of making sure that all the reservoirs, when we do our assessment, they are within the drop test. So those are the questions that I've noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Let me then respond to the question around what our expenditure is on the repairs and maintenance. As at Q4 of the previous financial year, we had spent 6.5% of that budget, and our target was 6.9%. Of course, the benchmark from National Treasury is 8%, and I'm confident that in the current financial year, we will be able to spend beyond the 8%, because we have concluded the contracts for the property, plant and equipment. So we spent about 6.1 billion of the 89.4 billion of our total budget. That's the amount that we've spent. In relation to the, I think there's a comment around, or the question around whether the city should consider putting city power under business rescue. And I think that conversation, it's a conversation that really requires context, because if you look at the business of city power, about 10, 15 years ago, in the business of city power currently now, there has been market changes and impact on the business of city power, as an example. Secondly, is that I think the Premier and the Minister of Energy has spoken about the tariffs that city power would charge, and the inability to increase the tariff in line with the cost that we spend. You'd be aware that recently we resolved a dispute that we had with Eskom, as an example, and that dispute lasted about 8 years, simply because the tariffs that Eskom was charging us vis-a-vis what we were charging to sell on became an issue, and that's why we're in court, and we obviously settled on the matter, and that's then been resolved. So what are we doing moving forward? Because as a shareholder, we need to intervene. There are 2 areas we said we needed to intervene. One is on what alternative energy do we provide so that we reduce the cost of buying at an expensive price from Eskom and selling at a lesser tariff, because the tariff we sell to the citizens is less than what we charge. I think the issue of the surcharge has been that issue because we were trying to recover that cost. So it is not as simple as straightforward that we put them under business rescue. The conversation with Eskom has happened because, in fact, we believe that Eskom is benefiting more than us in the areas because they service the areas where payment is high. And as City Power, we service the areas where we have less payment, and we continuously have to put in credit control measures to to collect. And that's a bit of a difficult one, and that's why it's not straightforward that you can put them under business rescue without looking at the entire value chain. But of course, as the shareholder, we contribute. I think the MD has indicated, we took a report to council that we must invest in the infrastructure so that we also reduce some of the technical losses, but also look at how we bring in additional energy. As an example, there's a current exercise now where we've asked the board of City Power to look at what value will we get in buying Kelvin power station as an example, because that used to be a power station we had, but it will reduce the cost and therefore make the company a bit more profitable. So I think it requires a much more detailed discussion in terms to resolve the problems of City Power. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Just one point perhaps to make, just for noting, because it's a matter that we'll be reporting on as we go along. I think it's also linked to the work that we do through the Presidential Working Group in Johannesburg. These are the metro trading reforms, which are focusing on the trading services, water and electricity, as well as solid waste. And this is something that will, in the long run, I think, help us in terms of focusing these metro services, to do what they are supposed to do. It's a detailed exercise. In the next week, we'll be having a workshop through the Presidential Working Group, just to go deeper into this, because Johannesburg has got, experience as compared to other metros, because it will the highest number of metro-owned entities, of the municipal-owned entities. So that our experience insofar as how they are being managed, how they interface with the parent company, which is the municipality, is going to go in handy. I think it's trying to address all of these issues, from issues of ring fencing and shareholding, as well as how those profits that are made, there's a balance between profits for growth, investing in the same infrastructure, but also looking at how that helps in terms of funding the social services that are within the parent company. I thought I should make that point so that it's noted. Thank you.
Why are you ignoring? This hand has been going up. No, yes, MMC. I see that you are just being squeezed out. I was very keen to hear. You had your hand up, they passed the mic. You had your hand up, they passed the mic. What do you want to tell us? All right, finish. Let's come back. I just don't want to be forgotten. I'm looking after everybody in this city, so please, just finish and then let's come back. But I saw the mic was just jumping all over. All right, good. You know why? That's also important. We also want to see what your relationships are. And don't create wrong impressions. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. On the debt recovery that the Honourable Member raised, we've actually seen an increase in collections as of July. We ended the year at 87%. We're now sitting at 93%, which means the war room that we started is actually starting to yield results. The war room strategy, Operation Logisa, sits every day, because that's where we monitor our collections, and we're very clear that our target that the team has set, which is led by the CFO, of 200 million a day gives us that ability to then reach our targets. So we are making headway in terms of the war room that we've started. And I must also indicate that we have engaged, we've started engagements with the 4 big banks. We've met 2 already who have also agreed to assist us on collections. Chair, whether honorable member is also correct in terms of payments by residents. So we've got, which we can also share as a supplementary, we've dissected our payment, perfect payment, good payment, frequent payment, bad payment. So we've categorized by region, because we've got 7 regions, by regions, our residents, their payment history, so that we can see where we are lagging behind in terms of collection. We've also, and I must thank the MEC, the IGR working streams are working. From 1.5 billion of government debt that they were owing the city, we're sitting at least at 900 million. It's because of the work of IGR and engagement, and the Premier was very clear that we must cut. Yes, we are going to cut, but we start with engaging, so that at the end of the day, they see that our intention is to make sure that we stabilize our revenue in the municipality, but they also as government can contribute to us being unable to collect. So those engagements are happening. Actually, even tonight at 7 p.m, we continue with the work streams to ensure we deal with those issues in terms of revenue collection. Thank you, Chair.
Just hang on a bit. You're saying collection is 90?
We're sitting at 93%. Yes.
Of your targeted revenue.
We had set ourselves a target of 96% monthly, but currently we're sitting at 93%.
Of what total revenue anticipated? Just give the exact
5.6.
5.6.
A month.
5.6
billion a month, yes. 5.6 billion a month.
5.6 billion a month.
A month, yes.
That's 93% of your collection is 93% of the 5.6 billion per month.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And you're saying you're calling right across the whole municipality.
We are saying there.
I heard you've classified it.
Yes.
But is that target covering the entire municipality, Johannesburg municipality? And you are saying it's 5.6 right across. There are areas where you get good money, there are areas where you get very little money, there are areas where people don't pay. That's what you're saying.
100% correct, Chair. For an example, we've got an area called Region F, which is our inner city. We've got the highest debt. It's sitting at 16 billion that they owe us in terms of non-payment. So those are bad payers. Yeah. So we dissect them so that we are able to then see where do we need to intensify revenue collection.
No, I'm only asking you more because I think the question asked by Mr. Atkinson is a matter of interest. The impression that he has is that there are areas where you don't even collect. You understand? So that's why I'm asking you more, because I want to see if we must get to the common understanding. And you are saying, no, you're collecting everywhere, you don't get the same return. And in his mind, he was of the view there are areas where there is no collection. And so, am I understanding you? Yeah. But let's reconcile this issue, because it's a matter that we must not walk out here with differences on. Please pass the mic. There you are. That's it.
Chair. Yes, look, I think in certain parts of the city there are a much higher level of illegal connections, of people stealing power and stealing water and stuff like that. And there are parts of the city as well in which you're not able to enforce credit collection in the way that you do in other parts of the city. What I do want to know is, what are you doing about those areas? What are you doing about resolving the areas where effectively people are stealing services from the city? Thank you.
Thank you. It's It's true what the member is saying. There are areas of concern. We've reflected on them where there is that lawlessness. We have engaged JMPD as well as SAPS through also the province through community safety to assist us in enforcing. And we must be honest to the committee. There are areas where the teams have gone out. They arrive, they do disconnect. 30 minutes or an hour later, then there are some syndicates or people who believe, I think the word that was used earlier was syndicates of groupings like Inkabi, who then threaten officials, city officials. That's why we've gone through engaging JMPD and SAPS to collaborate and assist us, because city officials become vulnerable and worry for their safety. So that particular process is in place. We were actually discussing with the team on Tuesday to make sure that we actually strengthen those relationships. Thank you, Chair.
Just one point which I think you need to, as you go about, try and have a look at. The question of illegal connections. There are two issues. There are people who are poor, desperate, and they'll ask anyone to go and connect for them, and they can just go and connect. And because what can they do? Of course, that you have to deal with that. And those are supposed to be by right people that you address in terms of the indigent policy. Then you have got others who, in a way, hijack the services. Instead of you paying city or ESCOM, you pay to them. So do you have that kind of phenomenon? Have you found that kind of phenomenon of people who would want to be paid? So in other words, they'll go and do an illegal connection, you pay to me, instead of paying to the municipality. So, okay, it's better to go and pay 5 rand instead of having to pay 200 rand. Do you have that kind of phenomenon?
Chair, there is, and both City Power and Joburg Water are investigating. There's actually been arrests of some of these kingpins through the investigations done by the entities. And I think that's why we talk about targeted investigations in areas where we are seeing that we are losing the most energy and water. What we are also doing, especially in our informal settlements, is to put what we call solar grids as well, so that we bring down the cost of electricity in the informal settlements, or even in the, let me say, previously disadvantaged areas, so that even the cost from City Power buying from ESCOM is reduced in the space. But there has been arrests, we've seen that phenomenon, and we are continuing to investigate, definitely, Chair.
Okay, that's fine. If you are done, let's go to my favorites now.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the question around the triple Ps and obviously bring in private partnerships in terms of the water. Yes, that program is actually at a very advanced stage now. Transactional advisors have been appointed by GTEC, the Government Technical Advisory Committee that sits in the National Treasury. But at the same time, DBSA has actually come on board to fast-track that process. Obviously, the Infrastructure Fund, which sits within DBSA, is also a partner. So we've got 3 stakeholders there, GTEC, / National Treasury, DBSA, and the Infrastructure Fund. The transactional advisors are already on the ground. So if you look at where we were last year, we were talking about terms of reference. At least we've now appointed the transactional advisors, so we can bring these programs to financial close. It's monitored by both us and the Department of Water and Sanitation through the DG, Dr. Sean Phillips. We did also have a workshop around triple Ps and the need for expanding the triple Ps. Just as recently as Monday, ourselves, City of Johannesburg, Cape Town, and eThekwini, so that all 3 metros, when we enter the market, we have similar, I guess, go-to-market strategies, because we'll be, in effect, looking at the same funders for this infrastructure. So definitely it's on, and our mission now is to make sure that we finish it in the fastest possible time. That will deal with non-revenue water, pipe replacement, and water reclamation. Those are the three major projects which run into billions of funding. And in terms of are we running our institution on credit? No, we are not. Credit management and liquidity is run centrally at group, making sure that suppliers are paid as and when they come. Obviously, we need to intensify collections to make sure that there's funds within the city, but centrally we manage that to ensure that we don't see long outstanding debtors or creditors in our various entities or departments. And the last one, Chair, Brixton Water Tower, it was paid, and that project should be coming to a close, I think. But MD can comment on that.
In that question, are you responding to the issue of taking a debt to pay a debt?
Yes, to say, are we taking debts to pay a debt? No, we can't do that. Regulation 45 does not allow us to use to do that. So we pay our debt as due. Even the short-term loans that we do get with DBSA in particular, we pay them back as required.
Okay.
Yeah, but
let's move on. Well, no, just wait. Because no. There's a couple of outstanding questions. Now you respond. We were very eager to respond. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and the members. Chair, the question I wanted to respond to was the issue of the audit committee and whether any of the financial misconduct matters had been raised by the AG that the disciplinary board is dealing with. The city, yes, it does have a functional audit committee. It's a group audit committee. And you also have at entity level, each entity has an audit committee. And at group level, meaning in the core administration, we also have the performance audit committee, which is established in terms of the Systems Act, and the risk committee. And the three committees, therefore, are having adopted the combined assurance model. They then consolidate the outcomes from their oversight engagements on a quarterly basis and report through to the mayoral committee. On the issue of matters that the disciplinary board is now handling, it's a combination of issues, especially the older matters. Those matters would have been identified by the AG, but the city has established a system where each department and entity must declare on a monthly and quarterly basis any unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, wasteful expenditure, because that does constitute a financial misconduct. So those would have been declared by the departments and the entities. Right now, a bulk of those that the disciplinary board is handling, that have been referred to council, are those that are historical matters and a few that are recent. We are also in the process of analyzing all the reported incidents for referral to council, because before the disciplinary board can conduct an investigation, we have to report to council on all of those allegations, and council will then so mandate either a preliminary or a full investigation. Thanks, Chair.
So the two that I might have missed, there's a question on the PPP. If you responded to it, please redo. Then the other one was on the payment. You said the Brixton Water Tower has been paid, but the leaking reservoirs, there's a delay issue. Did you deal with that?
Yes, Chair. Those were dealt with by the MD at Water and the Group CFO. The only one we've not covered is the one on M-Score. I think we are about 67% in terms of implementation. We have presented the action plan to National Treasury. We have a steering committee that then looks at the implementation. across different applications. So the only one outstanding was M-score, and we are progressing very well, and we do report to Treasury. Thanks, Chair. We've responded to all the questions.
Thank you, Kabazela. Just a couple of questions from my side. You'll bear with me if maybe they were touched on once I had stepped outside. I would like to know, number one, the staff debt, the rate of the staff debt, where does it sit right now? And the percentage, second question, the percentage of salaries, in percentage and in number. The vacancy rate, as it stands at the moment. And then this question of illegal collection, I just would like to know whether you treat it as one in terms of illegal connections, in terms of impact, and also delinquent non-payers. And what is the rate of write-off? Because much as whether one likes it or not, sometimes you end up there. Are there write-offs? If there are, what is the extent of write-offs in quantum? Thank you, Chair.
No, covered share by some of my colleagues, but I just feel sure that maybe I should raise this to the municipalities here, just to caution the leadership of the municipalities that it is an offense to lie or to mislead Parliament. Maybe you should have raised that. So as they are here, they must not intentionally or cover up or mislead Parliament intentionally. So I just feel, Mr. Chair, that maybe I should actually caution the members that are here. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Mtolo. Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, through you, to the leadership, I want to understand, based on the National Finance Minister's concerns expressed recently about your cumulative amount on UIFW, an ultimatum was set of possibly withholding your funding from Treasury. I want to understand what actions are you taking with regards to irregular expenditure, and some of it accumulating from years of between 2018, 19, 2021, 22, and a lot of that was for paying panels of service providers, and then also your request to the minister to write off your debt, your 5 billion rand UIFWE that was recently in the media. What is your reasons behind that? And I want to understand, how are you going to put measures in place to prevent that incidents like that does not happen again? And then I also just would like to know, what can the city confirm whether all cases of irregular expenditure that has been exposed or constitutes a criminal offense, as well as theft or fraud, have been reported to the law enforcement agencies as required by the MFMA? Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I want to ask a few things here. Chair, I see that the city has been getting an unqualified with findings. This is not a good opinion. We must move from with findings to no findings, we must move to a clean audit. You know, Chair, Auditor General expresses an opinion on three things: compliance, performance, and financials. You might get the debits and credits correct, but these two speaks actually to service delivery, which is the mandate of the municipality. So this with findings is actually a picture of getting correct the debits and credit, but not necessarily service delivery. So that is number one. I see here that you've resolved some of the MIs, but there's still some of the MIs that are not resolved. So I want to know which ones are not resolved. Do you use consultants to prepare financial statements or for preparation of financial statements? If so, how much are you spending on them? How long have you been using them? Number three, city manager, how long have you been acting? And also, I want to remind you that as per MFMA section 62.2D, you have a duty to prevent UIFW. We have a duty to prevent it. So I want you to appraise this committee as to what is it that you've done to prevent it, let alone to investigate it, like to prevent it from happening. Thank you.
Bond?
Okay.
Please respond.
Apologies, Chair. Chair, on the irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, the city has a strategy that we had adopted previously, where we looked at prevention, if an incident has occurred, timeous investigation, and then processing that through to MPEC for regularizing, and then where there is negligence, then it's a financial misconduct. So matters that get written off can only be written off after an independent investigation has been conducted. In the norm in the city, these investigations are carried out by the internal audit functions of the city. This is in the core as well as in the entities. So there are certain permutations or a framework that MPEC had put together that would then direct what are the factors, what are the key considerations that we need to cover in order for MPEC to be able to regularize. So each and every investigation will then follow that format as mandated by MPEC, which format was also approved by Council. What are the preventative measures? Insofar as irregular expenditure is concerned, we have what we call in the city probity audits. So for all tenders that are 5 million and above, we subject them to probity reviews prior to at bid specification stage as well as at bid evaluation stage. This helps in ensuring that the specs are reliable and will then also enable fair and equitable evaluation. At evaluation stage, we also conduct probity to make sure that the bid evaluation committee adheres to the specs that would have been approved by the accounting officer. The specs, before they are advertised, they would have been approved by the accounting officer. And when it comes to the bid evaluation, the adjudication committee does not consider any reports of the bid evaluation committee unless the probity audit issues would have been raised. We have had with the AG continuous concerns around the use of deviation of Regulation 36, which is a deviation from normal procurement. And insofar as that is concerned, the use of Regulation 36 is also now submitted to probity. So again, before the city manager can approve a deviation from normal procurement, it would have been subjected to probity to ensure that it meets the regulatory compliance. We may still have issues where a deviation which did not meet regulatory requirements may have been approved, but that was because the city needed to ensure continuity of operations and service delivery. But that has become more of an exception in terms of the current practices in the city. The issue, fruitless and wasteful, what had caused a spike was really the continued dispute between our entity City Power and SARS. It has been resolved, and another dispute that we'd had with ESCOM against City Power has been able to resolve that. So that had caused a huge spike in terms of our fruitless and wasteful expenditure, but ordinarily the city would have zero tolerance for fruitless and wasteful. But it does then mean that for this year and 25-26, bar any issues that the AG may discover, we should see a sharp decline in our fruitless and wasteful. The only other battle that perhaps remains a challenge is that what was raised earlier around our losses. And because the two entities end up overspending on our bulk purchases in the main, and that has caused an increase in our unauthorized expenditure. But as my colleague here, the CEO of Joburg Water has indicated, there are measures that are being put in place. We are of the view that the measures that are being put in place will not be immediate, they are more in the long term. But that's the nature of the beast that we are facing, in that the capital investment in our infrastructure will have a longer term impact in terms of us mediating or mitigating the increasing overspend on our losses. Thanks. Oh, MIs, there were issues around MIs. There's only one material irregularity that remains outstanding that relates to our bus rapid transport system. The city had built BRT stations, but there were issues around 2 of those BRT stations that had not been brought into use, really because there were issues around bus procurement. There were other legal challenges by the citizens community around the area, and that then contributed to the delayed utilization of those buses. Delayed utilization of the bus routes, the BRT stations, and procurement. But on a monthly basis, we've been submitting progress updates to the AG. They had agreed on our action plans, but then on a monthly basis, we must then provide progress, and that has been done. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, Chair, just also to add, the other MI that had been concluded, what was outstanding was to collect the money from MTN. MTN has taken us to court. We are now in court in terms of the 3.4 million that we needed to recover with MTN, because there were outstanding invoices from their previous contract, and we took a decision that we will not be paying those invoices to recover that money. The other point was around reporting to SEPS. We do report those cases once the internal audit and our group forensic have investigated. We also have a special unit within the GFIS unit that tracks the prosecution of those cases by SEPS, and they work with SEPS on a regular, so on a monthly basis, we get updates on how far is the prosecution of some of those cases. I think the rest of the other issues, I'm sure the CFO could respond in terms of salary and the likes.
Yeah, my responses are too short. I think the first is that I started on the 30th of June, the last day of the financial year, and 30th of June. Seconded from the province, Yes, yeah. But I'm well aware of my responsibilities from a point of view of being a successor in title. I'm well aware of what my responsibilities are. And just to indicate the second question, the second part of your question, I suppose it's not about what am I perhaps to do. I think it is what we put as mechanisms in the institution to respond. Because I think it's important to build resilient institutions that can, survive individuals. So there are quite a lot of things that have been done. I think of importance that one found in the institution that I wouldn't necessarily claim, but it's a very good strategy. This is the UIFW risk, the reduction strategy thereof. I think the very key component in that strategy, it's about accountability. Because we say, I'll just use a simple example. When there are electric poles in our townships or in our cities, in our suburbs, and they're energized and there is no bulb to give people light, there is an individual behind that action or non-action that is being paid by the institution. The question is, who is that person? So that we can separate, accountability I think is very much important. So this reduction strategy of the city incorporate, accountability. There are key elements of that strategy, which is prevention and detection of incurrence of each category of the UFWA. We also have the in-year monitoring and reporting for regulatory compliance. I think you made a point about what AG looks for when they make their determination. So the issue of compliance becomes very critical. I'm sure in the opening you heard me when I was saying we've got a strategy towards a clean audit. And that clean audit means we must eliminate those other 3 points, those other 2 points around performance and compliance. The third element is about timeous investigations. I think the chair even indicated, or the focus of the committee is about what was not being done, which, we're talking about historical or legal issues. Where investigations are done, reports are there, we are not implementing, or we delay. So that is a responsibility of the accounting officer to ensure those things, if you want to enhance accountability, they are done without fear or favor. So that is one aspect that we are busy implementing. The fourth is timely submission of investigation outcomes for resolution on recovery or write-off. I think that's where the legislature comes in. Sometimes you look at reports from 2016, 2017, legacy issues that did not find a route towards being dealt with by MPEC and Council. So those are the key elements that are not about me as a person, but they are about how do we institutionalize these things so that we build a resilient institution that will survive beyond our time. Lastly, it is consequence management. I think it's something that we now confronting face to face. Because when you say there's a financial misconduct, there is a person. Who is this person? When there are regulations, regular expenditures taking place, who is this person? So we are managing those, and I'm sure you'll see, going forward, you'll see the current and the next financial year, you'll see that we'll be upping that game of consequence management. And I'm glad there is also a record that the senior executive management team, even before I came, they had a workshop focusing on what they referred to, no repeat audit findings in the institution. Each and every senior executive has got a letter that says there's consequence management. But thank you so much.
Now we proceed.
Thank you, Chair. The question by Member Buthelezi on the vacancy rate. Our current vacancy rate is sitting at 6.6% in the municipality, and You are aware that the DPSA norm is 10%, so our overall vacancy rate is at 6.6%. I must mention to the committee that on senior managers, we are sitting at 20% on the senior executives. We're not doing so well there. We're sitting at 20%. We have, however, on the 15th of August, we advertised 3 senior manager posts for the head of public safety. We advertised the head of group comms, and we advertised the head of social development. Then that will assist us to decrease that 20% on senior managers. Then the other question was on the staff debt. Currently, our employees owe us 84 million. And then for councillors, it's 2.5 million. So combined, it's 87 million. One of the strategies that we do implement in the city, that the administration is very clear on, when the employees get their bonuses, so they do look at the double charge, so that if you owe the city, we are then able to recuperate that. The Speaker of Council, as it relates to councillors, is very consistent in terms of ensuring that councillors are reminded to also be responsible for paying for their municipal bill. So those were the ones from Honorable Buthelezi. Oh, and then you did, I think you were asking about the actual remuneration expenditure, our employee costs. We're sitting at 26.8%, and we are below the 30% of National Treasury. Thanks.
Numbers. Percentage and number.
So thanks, Chair. The number for employee-related costs is 21.6 billion, which equates to the 26.8% that the MMC spoke about, which is obviously below the norms that are set by NT, and we continue to monitor that as well. It's part of the covenants that we are given. And I think the last question was around who prepares the financial statements for the City of Johannesburg. We prepare the financial statements at CORE and our entities also, so we don't use consultants for the preparation of our financial statements. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, staff establishment. What's your staff establishment?
In terms of vacancy or?
In terms of the total number of people that you've got.
39,000 employees, Chair. I just looked at the number, the number we pay, but it's 39,000. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Let's take the next questions.
Thank you, Chair. Most of my questions are covered. I only have one question. If I may ask, what was the reason behind the municipality's decision to sell Kelvin Power Station at first? And if you were to repurchase it, what will be the monetary value for repurchasing? And how much do you anticipate to save in future? And beside the potential savings, what are the benefits would come from buying it back? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to Johannesburg City. I was listening attentively when you're explaining this issue of UIF, because it emanates from the report of the AG. So you are also telling us that you are on zooming in on it. But please qualify it, because the AG, the latest report says that you don't have an appetite to investigate the UIF. What informs the AG for that? Because it talks about a number of things. One, can you also take us into confidence in terms of the MPEC, if they are functioning? There is one. Secondly, also alluded to the fact that we have an anti-corruption unit. Kindly share with us with how many cases are you dealing with in terms of corruption that is taking place in the municipality? Because some of the issues are also identified by the media. Being the latest one was the issue of water tankers. That I think there's an investigation about it. It's an allegation on corruption, about 263 million. And maybe you were here, you were here when we were engaging with the Premier and MMCs. we raised the issue of the billing system is one of the major issue in the city of Johannesburg. Please come clean. And maybe you were here, or you were here when we were engaging with the Premier and MMCs. We raised the issue of the billing system is one of the major issue in the city of Johannesburg. Please come clean. Issues that are raised by the AG is the lack of leadership in terms of the administration. So if you don't have an MM for such a long time, so it means we are not going to have some of the things resolved. Lastly, under UIF, you have grown. Lastly, you were 2023-2024 status. You were sitting at 1.48 million on fruitless wasteful expenditure. And now we have grown to 254 million on the same issue. So why is that while you are telling us that you are attending to the issue of UIFs? Lastly, Chair, why other MMCs are not here? How did you constitute your team? We have MMCs who are very active, like the MMCs of public safety. So we love to see all MMCs to come and account here, and also not every time to criticize you as a city, but also to say, we notice your work, MMC, Dr. Mgcini Chwaku, and all other MMC, in order for other MMCs to see that it's very important to have an activist as part of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to the team from the City of Johannesburg. Chair, it's very unfortunate that the mayor is not here, because he and this leadership needs to be told that Johannesburg is a disaster. Outside of the big numbers and the fancy English that we're speaking here, Johannesburg is a disaster. And the team that's leading Johannesburg now needs to be told that. The province needs to be told that as well. Chair, Johannesburg is the richest city in the continent, actually. But the CBD doesn't speak to that. The CBD is just something else. Hotels and all of the big businesses around that were around Johannesburg, they are no longer there. They've all left, because it's actually even dangerous to be in the city. You've got little to no maintenance of roads. You've got little to no maintenance of underground sewerage systems. The garbage is piling up at every corner in the city. The criminality is rampant. You can't even speak to a cell phone while walking around town. The red traffic lights there in town, they're literally merely a suggestion to stop. And forget about driving around town at night. That's another thing altogether. The potholes, broken street lights, electricity shortages, water problems. And now people who are not South Africans are literally running Johannesburg City. So the first question that I'll have on that note is, after one of the Sunday newspapers wrote not too long ago that the city is collapsing because its leadership is incompetent and corrupt. The question to this leadership is, what do they have to say about that, given the state of the city of Johannesburg? Chair, I think this was alluded to a bit earlier on regarding the 70 million rands that were spent on financial consultants for the city. So the next question there is, was that really necessary? Are there not enough competent people in Johannesburg that the city could employ to replace these consultants at 70 million rands a year? And then lastly, Chair, the spending on repairing and maintenance of infrastructure. I think when the gentleman spoke there, I'm not sure what position he holds in the city, yes. I think he spoke of an amount that was equivalent to, I think, less than 1%. Is that correct? Okay, please enlighten us on what the percentage there was, because I know that you said you will get to 8%, because according to the Auditor General, the amount that was spent in financial year 2023-2024 was equivalent to less than 1% of the total value of the property, plant, and equipment. Now, I wanted to ask, if that's the case, if what the Auditor General said here is correct, what is the problem? Because this,
thank you, member.
The reason for this is the reason behind all of the infrastructure collapse in the city. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thanks, Kabazel. I just want to check with the city in relation to the bylaws. Do you allow, when you issuing the business licenses, I would assume that they are issued by you, especially in the informal economy? Do you allow it according to your bylaws to give it to those that are coming to South Africa without scarce skills? For instance, if I want to open a saloon and I'm a foreign national, am I allowed? Do you give me a business license? That's one. Two, I just want to check how many entities of the city are in deficit. Should there be any? What are the plans that you have of dealing with this? I've noticed that there are some of your entities that are doing pretty well, especially from social media, like Joburg Market, Joburg Theatre, the JTA. I saw there they built a very beautiful library and PRT stations. What lessons are you taking from these entities that are doing well? In line with the above, I see that you have paid some performance bonuses. I just want to check from which entities are these senior managers that you have paid, and have you paid any in the municipality itself? The MM position, I think it has been vacant for more than 2 years now. I just want to check because I see that it had become a generation and acting position. What are the plans? How many people have acted in that position? Is it true that you intend to sell some of your art collection to some business venture that is led by previously Advantage, which is white people? If so, what is your plans with Joburg Art Gallery? And the reason why would you want to specifically sell it to these white people? When last did you do a whole institution review of the city of Joburg? As I'm almost done, on city power. The city power is operating, it was reported by the end of last year that it's operating on an overdraft that is more than 16 billion. Why are you allowing this? It is also reported that, purported that a bulk of your executive are without postgraduate qualification. Is this true at City Power? Lastly, I just want to check why you are allowing the way that that is being operated. On revenue, I just want to check the person that is acting there, does he have the background and the qualification that are in line with the acting at the revenue, and why don't you have a permanent person there?
Thank you.
And lastly, the 93%.
That's your third last day.
The 93% you are speaking about is of this financial year or last financial year? Because if you look at the last financial year, it can't be that there's an increase in debt in payments and your interest income that is linked to your less collection, but you are saying you collected 93%. Can you just allude on that?
Thank you. Thank you. Let's deal with those questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. The position of the city manager in Johannesburg has been vacant since December. and it was through a court judgment against the appointment of the city manager. It's not 2 years. But where we are now, the processes have been completed. The interviews were conducted, and they've undergone a competence assessment. So that's where we are now. I think in the next few months, council will consider the report. The delegation, how it was composed, we looked into the issues raised and the department that are more involved, and that's how we composed our delegation. But I do need to indicate that all the MMCs are very hard at work. MMC Chwako, for example, as you had indicated, he's very hard at work. He's actually assisting in even dealing with the criminal activities in the inner city, and I think you would have seen him, being on the ground, leading operations, making sure that all those that are involved in criminal elements are apprehended. The state of the inner city, we acknowledge the challenges within the inner city, and that's why we have deployed various interventions. And all the departments, they've been assigned responsibilities in trying to deal with the issues within the inner city. So our rejuvenation process required that we deploy more resources, but we also involve other spheres of government, because other issues that are within the inner city, they goes beyond our scope of responsibility and the mandate that we have as the city of Johannesburg, like issues of illegal immigrants, for example. We do not have a competency as the city of Johannesburg to deal with them, hence our collaboration with Home Affairs. I know the provincial government as well, because even in the IGR, we do engage quite a lot around the rejuvenation of the inner city, and there are resources that have been deployed by the provincial government in attempts to assist the city of Johannesburg. But the biggest challenge that we have with the inner city is around the evacuation in the bed buildings, because for us to run that program successfully, we need to provide alternative accommodation, and the reality is that we do not have sufficient resources as the municipality to provide alternative accommodation, and that's why we had escalated the matter to the human settlements at the national level to see how they can best assist us in securing resources so that we are able to provide more alternative accommodation for us to evacuate more buildings. There are buildings that we have already evacuated. There are buildings that we had already demolished as part of our processes to rejuvenate. But over and above that, JMPD has also deployed officers so that they are able to deal with criminal elements. But the reality of the matter is that resources are not adequate for us to respond to the expectation of our residents. Well, I will allow colleagues also to respond to some of the issues that have been raised.
Thank you, Chair. The question that stands is how the Speaker's office contribute to clean governance and the fight against irregular expenditure. Chair, this office has put in place, this office is currently enforcing adherence to council rules that promote accountability. We have strengthened internal oversight mechanisms by capacitating MPAC members and insisting on consequent management for officials implicated in audit findings. We are also ensuring that audit recommendations are debated in council and tracked for implementation. The office is also currently ensuring that all councillors are familiar with the Code of Conduct as outlined in Schedule 1 of the Municipal Systems Act. Where violations occur, I refer such matters to the Ethics Committee or the Council for Disciplinary Action. I've also planned regular ethics workshops and encourage reporting of misconduct to protect the integrity of council. Chair, we have also ensured that all oversight committees, including MPAC, are properly constituted and meet regularly. MPAC meets almost every week. I monitor the attendance and functionality of these committees, and we have engaged with committee chairpersons to address any lapses. Furthermore, I enforce compliance with reporting deadlines and ensure reports are tabled and debated in council as required by the Systems Act. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. The question on the institutional review. Our last institutional review was in 2012, 2013. There was an approval granted by council in 2017. However, there were challenges with the then administration, and subsequently the matter was investigated, and because there were certain allegations with the then administration at the time, then that process didn't go through. We have subsequently received approval. When analysis has already been done, council has given us, so we've already started that process as the member asked. Then, Chair, we personally don't have information, so we would like to request if the honorable member perhaps can furnish us with the consultants or that he made reference to, or the companies, as the city core and the CFO also can confirm on record. We will be then happy to investigate and be able to respond, so that if it is something that is in existence, we are able to give the committee a proper response. But we have not utilized any consultants in our institution to compile any statements and to do any work in the finance department.
Just hold on there. Both yours and the speaker's comment. This member, Dolo, was saying members must not mislead. It arises because there's a gap that I don't think you should omit. What's happening here, and I'm looking through these reports. Firstly, I'm going to read to you just now the Auditor General's comment. Now, the issue of the functioning of the UIF, of the MPEC and the investigation of the UIFW is an issue raised by the Auditor General. And when you look at the comment, the comment is saying they came to that conclusion based on looking back at the 3 years. So that becomes the issue. Then they make a comment that they've noted this response which you gave, and they are of the view that maybe next time they audit, they will find the report, the record of the things that we're talking about. So you might then be dealing with issues where things were not done and you report from where you started doing them, and this gap doesn't cover the Auditor General's report. I wanted to look at that because I think that's what's happening. Now, you just seen I've called the member to come closer here so we can talk about this. I'm just trying to get to this report. The Auditor General specifically reports on the Gauteng expenditure on the consultants, and that report I'm going to ask the member, because mine is taking long to come, to read that paragraph. If you can just pass to the member this so that you can read. Now, we need you to focus on it from that understanding, because where we're sitting, what you're telling us is not in line with what the Auditor General is saying. And you're quite confident as you move on. And what I'm picking up is there's a gap here. You starting here, you're not accounting for what happened before. So even if you are doing well now, as far as you are concerned, it's not been assessed by anybody. But if you're doing well now, you're not accounting for the fact that you have not been doing well before. That's the issue. And from where we sit, it comes out like someone is not telling us the truth. And that's the problem. And that's why the member had to raise that issue. Now, I think it's a number of factors here. Can I ask you to read that paragraph, because there are specific amounts which were obtained from your statements that is referring to. Just read that paragraph for me, please. Switch on the...
Chair, the Auditor General South Africa has been reporting on the use of financial reporting consultants to address the skills and vacancy gaps over multiple years. And the over-reliance persists. In Gauteng, the cost of financial reporting consultants increased from 57.15 million in 2022-2023 financial year to 70.13 million in 2023-2024 financial year, primarily because consultants were brought in to assist with asset management, yet material misstatements identified were still prevalent. Chair.
So, from where we sit, Aklangan.
Okay, Chair, our humble apologies. We will also seek clarity around the statement, because it makes emphasis on Gauteng. And maybe that's where the confusion emanates from. Maybe if they could be specific on the city of Johannesburg so that we are able to address the measures.
Okay, that's fair. So we're going to check that. Let me go down to, I'm going to go down to another one. I hope I can get this one quickly. So I can get this one quickly. You will just pardon me, as I'm going to now have to scroll to the issue that... Okay. All right, so this is one issue. Reliance on audit process to achieve unqualified audit opinions. Okay. Then they say in 2023-24, the city was amongst those that received unqualified audit opinions every year for the past 3 years, despite having initially submitted poor quality financial statement that they then corrected. Okay. So whatever you do now, they've got this record going back. And then non-investigation of unauthorized, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. The Auditor General's Report 2023-24, page 2126, the city has not investigated unauthorized, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure over the last 3 audited financial years. Now, this issue has been raised by 2-3 members already. Okay. And that's why I stopped the speaker at some point and said, no. Don't explain what we know is expected. That's not the report. The report is saying you have not done it. We know what you should have done. You know what you should have done. So don't tell us what you should have done. You must address the fact that you have not done it. Now, that issue, again, I had to again stop because 2 members already from the municipality had raised that issue. Then the Auditor General report 2023-24 that while the city had a disciplinary board in place, the board did not perform its legislated role of investigating financial misconduct allegations. Okay? The board also did not monitor the disciplinary hearings at the Metro. That is the Auditor General. So each time you tell us what you are doing, we are not able to reconcile with this unless you can tell us from now on going forward this is what we are doing, but from now going backwards we didn't do it. If you're not telling us that, then we actually think you are trying to
mislead you.
Shy. Now, if anything, this committee is very sensitive to that because that's our job every day, to always pick up when things aren't as true as they sound. Of course, non-compliance with section 131(1) of the MFMA, as per Auditor General Report 2023-24, the mayor did not ensure that the issues raised in the audit report were addressed. So whatever you explain to us now, that's why you hear the members here saying it's very unfortunate that the mayor is not here. The next one. Page 128 of the Auditor General's report. The City Council did not monitor the audit action plan or hold officials accountable for the timelines on the action plan. MM is disagreeing with me. You disagreeing, MM? I see you are not even listening. You dismissing us. I don't find it quite proper when we actually explaining to you what the problem is. You're actually talking to each other. I think that it gives us a problem because I raised the issue. I think the acting mayor made a comment, and I said that comment is going to give you a problem, and it begins to give a pattern. So please, let's just focus, because we can't sit here and create an impression that we don't care whatever you say. Now, the problem now, we're getting an impasse because you are saying you are doing all these things and Auditor General says you are not doing all these things. So take us out of that.
Chair, thank you. I just want to...
hold on. Just hold on.
Sorry.
I just want to add one thing, Chair, on what you have just alluded to. When the speaker responded, because we were listening very careful when they are responding on the issue of UIF, they told us that what they have done so far. They even said they have a unit called Anti-Corruption Unit. We said to them, just tell us all the issues that are being dealt with in the Anti-Corruption Unit, because that's where we must start. MPEC, Audit Action Plan, but we have your own unit that deals with these things that are raised by the AG. But the speaker couldn't also tell us what are the criminal cases or what are the corruption cases emanating from their own unit. after they have learned, they went to town to tell us how good they are to address the issues from the Audit General.
Just as a matter of interest, probably 80% of us here have been civil servants. So we know the game, how you fudge issues. Must sound like, even if it is not. And that's all we're very sensitive to. So we're now going to limit what your response that you give us. We want to know why we have this gap and what are you doing, from when have you been doing it. Let's separate it clearly. If you are not sure, let's not go into guesswork. Okay. So I will be interrupting if I think you are not going the route.
Thank you, Chair. The committee is correct on the disciplinary board in terms of the gap. When I spoke earlier, I indicated that Council approved it in March 2024. The disciplinary board was established during a term of a previous government. Then there were changes in government. The government that came in 2021 de-established the disciplinary board. They didn't want to accept the guidance of National Treasury. Then when this new government of local unity came back in 2024, we re-established it, Council approved it. So where the committee is correct is that there would have been no disciplinary board active in the city of Johannesburg in 2023 and the earlier months of 2022 because of the previous government who did not want to utilize the disciplinary board. So there I can confirm that there would have been that gap. And therefore the things that we are saying are only active and having started in March 2024. So the political changes created that particular problem. There were different governments.
Okay, but your government, ne?
No.
So you deal with these issues in terms of the financial years and the fact that whether you are a different group and different coalition today, you still the same term of government in office since 2021. You're only getting out next year. It doesn't matter if you have changed mayor 6 times. You're still the same. And therefore everybody takes the same responsibility. If we say 3 years ago something went wrong, the same term of office is yours. But what we are saying is that you can't, when there's a criticism of what happened in the past, then start talking to us as though that doesn't exist and you only talk about what's happening now and not bridge the gap, because it mustn't be us who are correcting you. It's you who must clarify us. That is the issue.
Thanks, Chair. The issues we raised, the 18 matters, are actually dating back even before our term of office. So the 18 matters that we are speaking about, the ones that Koo mentioned, for example, the old matters, some date back from 2019, some date back to 2020. So we accept that we are successors in law and in title, but perhaps there's a...
And the problem with that is that UIFW, if it's not cleared, it stays. So you can't say, I don't know the guys who did this, I'm here now. You have to sit down and say, how much of that do you regularize? That's really what catches you, and you can't then argue that, well, those guys are gone, we are now here. That's the point.
Noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we are full in agreement, especially what MMC Masuku has said, and we are not denying what has happened before we came in, but I think we also told you how we will fix what has happened then. For us fortunate sitting here in this room, Chair, we have a previous chairperson of MPAC with us that can also say to you, Chair, that she's also been struggling with that UIFW's, the Honorable Mam Nontenja was our MPAC chair before, and after Mam Nontenja left, we had a gap.
Do you know in Parliament you rule you out on irrelevancy?
Thank you, Chair.
I'm ruling you out on
Thank you,
irrelevancy
Chair.
now.
Thank
okay.
you.
Let's go back to the questions. Please focus on the questions and I'll keep cutting now. If I don't hear that you are going there, I'll cut you. So
Okay.
let's deal with our outstanding
Thank you,
question.
Chair. Chair, so as far as the speaker is concerned on MPEC, we are definitely working to fix what we have not fixed in the last 3 years. And I would want the COO to assist us on the anti-crime committee that is there, as well as your favorite person will also deal with that. I thank you, Chair.
And let's deal with the questions.
Okay. And Chair, we would like to profusely apologize if we communicated a message. We're just trying to confer based on the information given, just to ascertain facts. So we want to profusely apologize. Just clarify on those issues.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think just to go straight to the issues. So, in line with the response from MMC Masuku, in terms of the establishment of the board, and the work that MPEC has to do in terms of the final write-off that goes to council. You'd recall that that process is a process that has to be approved at council, and some of the committee members are councillors who sit on MPEC. But administratively, the investigation of all of those matters would have been concluded. First one, the group internal audit team will investigate all of those matters, including the ones that we picked up.
You give us a lecture of how the system should work. We're not asking you that.
No, Chair, I'm getting to the actual...
No, let's go straight.
Okay. So, for an example, Chair, let's talk about the consultant, the use of consultants to conduct financial statements in the city. We have not used consultants to conduct investigations in the city. We have the group, which is the group CFO. We have a group head, which is Ishwar Ramdas, responsible for the compiling of financial statements. Each department has a director of finance and a complete team that does the financial. So what had happened with, after the AG issued that media statement, myself, group CFO, and the AG, we then reached out to, the head of GRAS, we reached out to AG to say, the statement that we are using a consultant to do our financials, it is not correct. Can we have a consultation so we can understand where that comes from? Because obviously it's creating a bit of challenges in terms of how we compile the financials. The point that the AG had raised was around the adjustments that we make, which is the concern that she's raised, that when you do your financial statements, you then also make adjustments before we conclude the audit, and that's where the AG raised and challenge. Second to that, Chair, the performance committee and the audit committee, the chairpersons had actually said, go to the media to correct the statement by the AG, and administratively we said that will not be the correct route to go. The best route is to engage with the AG and the person who's responsible for our AG to say, we've also submitted to you a report with all the skills of our financials. The issue around...
Move to the next issue, because we've raised the issue of consultants because we had something that was a query with you. You insisting and you're denying, that's fine, let's take that. We'll pick it up when we've got different information. May I just ask someone from the AG to come forward to confer with us? Please proceed, deal with the other issues.
That's fine, Chair. So I think then the second issue we had raised with the AG was around where the AG had said in the previous audit that the city had not investigated these irregular matters. Now, the 6 cases that I referred to, the MTN case is 2018 case. The Protea Glen Fire Station is a 2019 case. At the time that the AG came to audit in the previous year, those reports were already available because they had also raised them as material irregularity. And we had already shown to the AG that we had investigated these matters and we had already started disciplinary action and the collection. For an example, the 2.5 million on the Protea Glen construction with the AG raised, we had already investigated and taken action. So we had a bit of a to and fro in terms of, have you implemented consequence management? And I did respond this morning that we had initiated consequence management on all of those investigation issues. So it was a matter of whether we are agreeing with it.
In brief, the AG is incorrect in saying for 3 years there had been no investigations.
I can say that, Chair, because the reports are there where we had investigated the cases. Hence, we had said we need to clarify the media statements. The second point I raised with AG, say sorry for coming in, Chair.
Okay, and so you are also saying the AG is incorrect in saying that these reports were actually not followed up by council.
That's the point I was getting to, Chair. I think the preamble I was giving was bringing us here.
Don't do
because-
preambles. I told you I'm going to cut you. I want it straight to the point.
Chair, for those reports to be considered by council, they have to go to MPEG. They have to go through MPEG. So
We
if
know
MPEG is
that.
not sitting, then the reports don't get processed by council. And that's where the gap was.
No. You see, you understand what you're saying now. The Auditor General is not telling us the truth when they say the matter was not processed. What's your explanation? When the MPEG doesn't sit, then the thing doesn't get processed. Now, who's telling the truth? You are actually confirming the same thing you want to explain and justify. We're not asking you to justify. Continue.
Chair, if I may clarify, I did indicate that administratively, we had processed the reports. For an example, we took action.
No. You are one municipality. If you are supposed to do something, you do, this one does it, that one does it, that one does it, then the others don't. You think we're going to come and tell us that the others didn't do their bit? You can't tell us that. You cannot tell us that.
Chair, but I also want to hear from the municipality because they are disputing the comments that have been made by AG. Have they formally disputed those comments with the AG? And if indeed, how's the process? How far is that process?
Thanks, Chair. I can confirm, Chair, that I led the delegation to engage with the AG on some of the comments that have been raised. Immediately, they were released in the media. Our first issue was the issues that the AG is raising are not in the final management report. And therefore, it is a bit problematic that we engage with them from a media base when they are not in the management report.
Just hold on. Let's hold on. You are saying to us, you have gone to query with the AG. The one issue I've heard you said you were going to query was the use of consultants. And I said, I take your point, put it aside. Until somebody from AG comes to us, we won't take you on that issue. When they come back, we'll come back to you. Leave that. Then the next issue is the MPEG. Did the MPEG submit the report, and did the council deal with the report and monitor? And you are saying, and this is how I understood you, administratively you did your bit. The MPEG didn't follow up its bit, it's part of the process. So administratively, you want to clear yourself. The committee has got its own problem.
No, Chair, I am not clearing the administration. I'm simply saying the gap in processing those reports were in the sitting of MPEG,
That's clearing yourself.
which has subsequently said to clear those, Chair.
No. You see, the Auditor General was saying that those things were not cleared. You are saying you did your bit, the MPEG didn't do their bit. If you have submitted, you are not the one at fault. If the MPEG committee didn't process the thing through right up to council because they didn't sit and you said so, then it can't be your problem. And I'm saying to you, you can't separate parts of one unit of a municipality and say to us that if your part did it, the other part didn't do it. We're not asking you, we're asking the municipality. And you're making us argue over something that's completely obvious and there's no need for it. And we didn't come here to argue. We didn't come here for political opinion. We came here just to get facts. So don't try and play around. All these guys here are politicians. So when we start politicking, we actually pick it up quickly, but that's our skill. So don't try that route. Okay? Now, let's close this issue. The Auditor General's report for us stands. Whatever your explanation is, that report stands. And we're not going to argue with you whether you like what the Auditor General said or didn't say. We don't want to know your view about it. We want to know the facts of what happened. And when we look at the facts, we don't care who didn't do it. We just want to know this is what happened. That's all. So don't allow us to get into this kind of debate because it's unhealthy. And we're wasting time for it. Let's answer the rest of the questions.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, there was a question on the cases that are currently under investigation and how many have been criminal cases that have been reported to SAPS. Chair, I can indicate that we ended the year with 555 cases, of which 442 would have been grouped to be either fraud, corruption, or maladministration. 100 of those 110 relate to illegally occupied buildings, stroke hijacked buildings. And in terms of the disciplinary cases, there is 44 that our forensic investigation team is following up on. And the criminal cases, we've got 68. We also monitor recovery, where the recommendations from either the investigation or the disciplinary action would have been that we recover. So there are 12 matters that are currently being monitored. That is the state with regards the investigations that are conducted by our Chief's Department. I must indicate, Chair, that insofar as financial misconduct matters, they are distinct. They are defined in terms of the Act. So those, the 18 that we mentioned, are over and above those that our Chief's Department is looking at. These are those that our disciplinary board is overseeing as mandated in terms of the regulations. Some of these matters that are under investigation by Chiefs could be matters that are financial misconduct, but because I don't intend to resuscitate the issue of the disciplinary board being in place or not, but you do then find that Chiefs would have investigated or will still have matters that are financial misconduct in nature, and we are analyzing our database to then make sure that these matters get routed to the disciplinary board so that we avoid a technicality where we can investigate, charge an official, and then they can cite that our forensic investigation department may not have had the jurisdiction as defined in terms of the law. There was an issue, Chair, around the non-implementation of audit findings. I will respond to 23-24 and post 23-24, meaning 24-25. In 23-24, we had monitored the implementation of corrective actions. This is citywide, and we would have submitted a consolidated report on the rate of resolution, and not just AG audit findings, but also internal audit findings. We were sitting at the end of the year with 86% rate of resolution. But what have we then done subsequent to year end 23-24? The acting city manager did indicate that when he came in, we'd already had a workshop where we're looking at these findings, revisiting our remedial actions, and there is a directive vis-a-vis any repeat findings that the AG may have for the 24-25, that senior management, respective senior management, will then be held accountable. So yes, we did follow up 23-24. We have continued to follow up 24-25, but an improvement is that now we've got that accountability matrix that has been workshopped and agreed to with management. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just the question on the repairs and maintenance. Our target for the previous financial year was 6.9. We concluded the financial year at 6.7, which totals 6 billion of the 89.4 billion, which is our total budget that we spent on repairs and maintenance. The issue around the art gallery that was raised, we are not selling the art gallery, Chair. There is a process to review, to upgrade the art gallery, which is implemented by JDA and community development. However, the snag we have is the movement of the art in the art gallery to a safe position. We have received some proposal from some of our partners, and we are reviewing how we do that, because the art is very valuable and it's expensive, and therefore we don't want it to end up in wrong hands and then be accused of selling the art itself. So there is a proposal that our legal team is looking at in line with our partners, and this is of course monitored over a period. In relation to bylaws and whether we issue permits to foreign nationals, that is not allowed. There are 3 departments who are involved. EMS does the inspection of the facility. Development planning also looks at compliance in terms of buildings. And then we have the economic development department that then issues the final permit. Once all of those 3 departments have then, of course, investigated that. So it's not part of our bylaw to actually implement through JMPD. The issue around the Kelvin Power and the sale of Kelvin Power, this happened around 2000 when the city amalgamated all the different municipalities into a single uni-city. And the leadership at the time, because the city was in a financial difficulty to raise funds, took a decision to sell Kelvin, Igoli Gas to the private sector, to be run by the private sector, but still get the services. And that's when that decision was made, around 2000 or so. The benefit to buying back Kelvin, of course, we've not done the study to look at how much it will cost us to buy back. Currently, Eskom charges us about 30% for administrative cost, and not for the actual electron that you buy. But with Kelvin, we actually do not have, we don't incur that 30% cost. So if we were to self-generate using Kelvin, we'll then be able to reduce the 30% administrative cost that we're receiving from Eskom, but also reduce the price, the tariffs that we buy, because in winter, the tariffs at Eskom go high, but because we're using Kelvin, it is cheaper to actually augment the different tariff prices that we buy. So there is a benefit to actually self-generating. Of course, the legislation now allows that we can generate our own energy, either using gas, solar, or to generate that energy, because the biggest cost now at City Power is related to the cost from Eskom, and if we are able to reduce that cost either through generation within the city through Kelvin, and then bringing in Igoli Gas as well, then it will actually reduce the cost, and it may actually reduce the operational cost at City Power. So there is a benefit. As I say, we've not conducted the study. We've given an intent to the board to consider that, and it will come through mayoral committee for approval whether we purchase Kelvin or not, but to use it as part of the buyback process that we are currently busy with. So I think those were the only questions that were outstanding. Oh, sorry, in terms of my apologies, the inner city. I think there's an issue raised around the inner city, and I think we accept the state of the inner city. We have since developed a bad building strategy that we have taken to council, for council to approve. But part of that strategy, but the biggest challenge in the inner city has been affordable housing. Affordable housing for all the people who live in the inner city, hence the hijacking of the building. So the strategy looks at how do we bring in the private sector. Already as the city, we've received 4 requests from new owners who have bought, or they've recovered their properties and they want to redevelop affordable housing. So we are looking at how do we write off some of the bills that were generated when the building was hijacked, and will then approve so that they can then redevelop. But the main issue in the inner city is about affordable housing, and the bad building strategy addresses that part. So we have started with that operation with SEPS and Home Affairs to actually reclaim some of those buildings and then give them to the owners. Thanks, Chair.
Which one? Yes, water tanker issue.
Yeah, I think the MD is here.
Thank you, Chair. The issue for water tanker, there was an allegation that we picked up through the media, which indicated that the bidders that were appointed, they colluded, and the issue is currently being investigated. Thank you, Chair.
Just repeat the question.
Thanks, Chair. In the city power, the operation of more than 16 billion on overdraft, the qualification of your executive, postgraduate qualifications, yeah, those were the two, and the issue around the collection, the 93% is from when?
Please respond to those.
The CEO of City Power is here. She will respond.
Good afternoon to the Chair and the members and the leadership in the room. With regards to the issue of the overdraft of City Power, we are currently sitting at about 16 billion rands. And our overdraft, when you analyze where the expenditure went, we've got a gross margin challenge at City Power. So we are buying our electricity very high. So case in point, if you look at this year, we spent about 19 billion on the purchase of electricity, whereas our revenue is only 22 billion rands, which therefore means we are left with not enough money to cover the salaries, to cover the R&M. And another issue as well is that our CAPEX, one of the sources of funding would then say that it's cash. And when there's a cash collection challenge, because also the cash that is collected of electricity also gets shared with the other services in the city, it therefore means that there's a cash shortfall. And when we have that cash shortfall, it simply means that we are financing our infrastructure from overdraft. So the overdraft is currently escalating, and in that overdraft, 1.3 billion rands of it is purely interest back to the city, because it's also charged at about 18%. So there is conversations that have started between legal and finance so that we can look at how that is structured, because 1.3 billion rands of it simply goes into interest. So there is work with guidance of legal to see how we can restructure that deal, which is taking us back into the financial crisis at this point. And in terms of the efforts on the gross margin, there is work that is happening with regards to the tariffs. We have considered that the current tariff structure that we've got at City Power is not assisting us. We've got the postpaid customers migrating to prepaid, and when that happens, even if it's not energy losses, it's a revenue loss, it affects our gross margin, and then we end up on overdraft. So those will be the challenges around the overdraft. And the second...
Why is that the case? If you move from prepaid to postpaid, you have a revenue loss, or you're overcharging anyway.
So unfortunately, we started with postpaid customers. So a postpaid customer would pay us 930 rands for its fixed charges. So it has to do with the availability, so that they cover our repair and maintenance, and it's also the service charge that deals with the billing before we get to the cost of the electrons. However, when we did the migration to prepaid, so I'm talking about decisions of 12 years ago. So when we started allowing our residential customers to migrate to prepaid, the tariff structure that we factored into 12 years ago did not cover the availability, which means I've got 2 houses in Bryanston. The household that is on prepaid literally pays 930 rands less to the neighbor that is on postpaid. So we started the process of going to NERSA to change all of that. Because if you look at our books, you'll notice that the overdraft crisis came about from 2016. So from 2016, we've been piling up over R1 billion per annum simply because of the tariff challenges. So we have indicated, we had to do our cost of supply studies, which we did, and we lodged with NERSA, and we have gone to council.
You know what you need more? It's a legal opinion.
Agreed.
It's a huge disaster, I can hear.
Yes.
It's huge. So huge. I'm actually shocked you're putting it the way you are doing. Please, once you get that legal opinion, give it to us. We want to hear what it is.
Agreed, Chair. But
the number is correct, the overdraft figure.
Correct. We actually moved from 11 billion to 13 billion to 16 billion. And we are also predicting that unless we also change the issue of the interest, it's basically going to grow at an average of about 4 billion rands per annum until the legal issues are resolved.
Let's get the next questions. Thank you. Let's get the other question. There's an issue of qualifications.
Correct.
And please, just go straight. I'll give you 5 seconds for that.
On the issue of the qualifications, the executives of City Power are appointed according to the qualifications as per the Municipal Systems Act, the competency framework, and they all meet it. So if the competence, they meet the requirements of the competency framework. We use the Municipal Systems Act competency framework. So we look at what are the qualifications that are required, and the minimum competency is in line with that. So the spec then gets approved by the board, and then the recruitment process then commences.
Just leave it. You know what? Please come over this side. Let's talk about it just now. Yeah, let's get the next question.
Thank you very much, Chair. No, Chair, I want to demonstrate that which you were reading earlier on, and it was sort of denied that it is taking place within the municipality. The AG is indicating in the report of the MFMA in totality, page 113, that the following metros made prohibited awards of 14.11 million. Johannesburg alone has made 13.3 million awards, giving them to suppliers owned or managed by other state officials. Prohibited awards. Who did that and what happened to them? Because it's clear in terms of the law, and the supplier did not submit a declaration. Number 2, it's on page 114. Again, prohibited awards made to relatives of officials and politicians in the city, and that's totaling 972 million worth of tenders. It's in the auditor's general's report. Who did that? And then we're going to be told the process didn't meet this one and that one and that one. The next one is on page 141. The MI on the IT company, which was appointed irregularly in 2019. When that company was appointed in 2019, and the AG picked that up, made a material irregularity, reported to the municipality, nothing happens, but in 2023 it was reappointed. After being reappointed, only then you address the material irregularity, which then recovered some of the money in terms of the contract itself. But to start off with, it was appointed irregularly, it was then given work was paid for, but it never provided any of the services that it was paid for, to the tune of almost 400 million. Now we have made a recovery of less than 200 million. What happens to the rest of the money? And why are we reappointing someone who was paid for work that they did not render the services of?
Let's round up.
That's collaboration. Then the last one, Chair, Cutting Edge, add a program wherein the municipal workers, in particular the lowest grade cleaners and all the lowest grade, that were crying about the city, which is deducting money to pay off loan sharks that have found their way through the city and the shop stewards into the system of the municipality, and you are deducting salaries way above what is regulated in terms of paying back loans.
Okay.
Some of them don't get any salaries, they don't get paid at all. How did that happen?
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's move to the next.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, it's Kwenza Madlala from Scopa. I want to ask specific questions, but before getting there, I want to just also emphasize the advice that we understand processes. So the questions we ask are specific. We want a specific response, just like how we understand political rhetoric, but we want specific answers. Let me follow up on a question that was asked, but directed to the municipality now. The issue of water infrastructure is a responsibility of the municipality. Whilst water in itself may be another responsibility, but the maintenance of infrastructure of water belongs to the municipality. And the AG says there's a 2.9 billion loss of water in the city of Johannesburg. On the same breath, the AG says on maintenance grant, you guys have underspent by 10%. In fact, it says that you've spent 5%, which is far below the norm, which is 8% on maintenance. So we want to understand what is the challenge in terms of ensuring that we spend on maintenance grant, and also we ensure that we minimize the water loss, because it is assumed to be totaling to about 35% of all water flowing through the municipality. That's the loss that we are making. I want to also ascertain in terms of, there was an allegation of a bus contract. I think it's for the Rea Vaya issue where there were unlicensed buses. I want to know who owns that contract, and also what has been the remedial action to ensure that that situation is mitigated and people are not subjected to a risk of being transported in buses that are unlicensed and unroadworthy. I think, let me pause there for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to the municipality of Johannesburg. Chair, I'm not going to be long. My questions will be to this leadership, because we were here on the 21st of November last year. 8 months down the line, I just want to find out from you guys that there were a lot of issues that we raised that time. How far are you with those issues? Issues of billing, there are a lot of issues, and they are repeating. It's like we are repeating the same things that we came to do last year. But we're supposed to get feedback from you. How far are you with the issues that we raised that time when we came for the oversight? Thanks.
Yes, you next. Let's pass.
Chair, thank you. I don't have a question for Johannesburg, but I'd just like to make a comment, if I may. Chair, thank you. You know, if you listen to the input of the Premier this morning about these frameworks that are being put into place in order to facilitate the relationship with municipalities, and you listen to the response from the reps from Johannesburg, who give you very confident answers in very mellifluous and dulcet terms, one could be lulled into a false sense of security and think, you know, we've got this. It's sorted. People know what they're saying and it's under control. But we know that is actually not the case. So the question we have to ask ourselves, Chair, is why is it despite good frameworks and knowledgeable officials, most municipalities in Gauteng are still failing, including Johannesburg? And it's just my view that what needs to be done is a very detailed, in-depth, functional analysis of the things that are causing the problems. Things like lack of resources, including money and even expertise, lack of accountability and consequence management, corruption, etc. Unless there's a deep dive into those to evaluate exactly what's happening at the coalface and presenting solutions to those, we are not going to win the battle. And it's really my view that should be the work of COCTA. Thank you, Chair.
Let's have the responses.
Thanks, Chair, and all members. I'll start and I'll pass it. Chair, in terms of the billing system, if we were to ask where are we now, so we are 2 months away from launching the new meter-to-cash system, because the old system, we do agree, it's very old. It was implemented as Project Pakama in 2010. So the new system, since then we did procure a new system, and we are now implementing. In 2 months' time we'll be launching it. That goes obviously with the rollout of meters, because it's not just a system, it's to make sure that we are metering in all places to improve the accuracy of our bill. Also, Chair, as part of the metro training reforms, the billing teams that were sitting at a corporate level, at a group level, have been put back at the entities, so at City Power, Joburg Water, and Pick It Up, so that there's a single point of management accountability in terms of the accuracy of the bills, and just to make it easier to work with the operations team. So if an engineer installs a meter, they make sure it's on the system and it's being billed properly instead of sending through back and forth emails. So from July 2025, moving forward, the billing is being done at the entity, and that is to ensure that the accuracy of the bill increases, at the same time including the process of upgrading the system. Like I said, it's going live from November, so that we move away from the old system. The maintenance and repairs, I think the COO has covered it. At the 23-24 it was 5%, but I think we did say for the current financial year that just ended, we ended at 6.7%, which is a 1.7% increase, and we are envisaging to move up to 8% as per the NT norms in the current financial year. So we're investing more money into repairs and maintenance, including, Chair, the work that we are doing from a triple P basis, because we understand there's over 10,000 kilometers of pipeline. We spoke about the work that we are doing with National Treasury / GTEC. We spoke about the work we are doing with DBSA and the infrastructure fund, and the fact that those transaction advisors are already on the ground. So we are not talking about still going into the market. They're already on the ground, and we are moving towards now entering the market for solid proposals, so that we can partner with the private sector, because our own balance sheet won't be able to take the entire capacity of the budgets. Chair, we also spoke about the fact that if you look at our historical budget, where it was around 45% of the budget going to City Power, Joburg Water, and Pick It Up, we've moved that now in the current financial year, 25-26, the one we are in now, to 56%, and in the medium term, meaning next financial year, that moves up to 61%, and the year after to 65%, showing a deliberate investment strategy in our key infrastructure entities. In terms of the award for the prohibited award, I did touch on it when I first started, Chair, to say that contract that we used was from the State Information Technology Agency for laptops. But what we have done now is to also include our own tools. So the vetting, essentially, because we used the transversal contract, was done at a SITA level, but we have now improved our own processes internally with the tool that we have purchased and we are using as we move forward from the last financial, so 24-25 financial year moving forward, to make sure that we fully vet any supplier, whether it's a transversal contract or not, or even our own tender processes, so that if there's any employee employed by any state or in any sphere of government or their families, we can then pick it up from the tool that we have now implemented, and that will work. We're already seeing the benefits of that, where some awards that were supposed to be made, we've held back because of that tool that picked up that conflict of interest, and we'll continue using that tool as well, Chair. I think I just wanted to cover that, Acting EM. Anything else?
No, thank you, Chair. Just to respond to the program that Cutting Edge had spoken about, I think about 3 weeks ago. So I recall that I spoke to the actual journalist on the matter and we provided a response. So what happens in the municipality, Chair, is that employees of the municipality would go to loan sharks to loan money. So the regulations empower the unions. In this case, SAMU would be the lead. They then sign agreements with micro loan sharks. And then so the responsibility of the city, once the employee has signed the contract with the loan shark, our role is to ensure that they get access to the payroll to pay. However, when they do the contract, we are not part and parcel of the contracting. And of course, once this matter was raised, it was first raised by employees. As the city, we took a decision to go and engage with the 4 loan sharks. And we had said to them, colleagues, we are getting a complaint that you are actually overburdening employees with different loans from your different entities. We even went to the Competition Commission to report the conduct of the entities that are loaning, because it's loans that have been given over a period. So where we've agreed with them was that we are not going to allow them to give employees further loans, but they also need to extend the current loans that the employees have over a period of time so that they are able to then recover. And that is how we dealt with that matter. But however, legally, Chair, there is a contract between the employee who then goes to the loan. And I think when we investigated, we then discovered that a single employee has 4 loans from 4 different loaning companies. And that, of course, is a problem. And we tried to intervene to say, but colleagues, you can't continue to take a loan on top of another loan and another loan. And we did say to the providers, it's also irresponsible of you to issue loans. If you do not extend the period to allow them to get more, we will then stop paying or allowing you to do those transactions over our salary bill. So that's we are aware of the story, and we had intervened to try and reduce the pressure. However, legally, it's a contract between the employee and the company that's extending the loan. And then just on, I'm sure the MD can, I think the CFO had spoken about, from a city perspective in terms of infrastructure asset. About 3 years ago, we took a report to council, because for repairs and maintenance and the upgrade of infrastructure, we have to fund it from the city's coffers. The grants add on top of the capex that we have. Council approved that for the next 10 years, 60% of our capex must go to water, electricity, pick it up, and roads. To upgrade the infrastructure. And in the current financial year, the allocation of our capex is towards those 4 entities so that we deal with infrastructure. Our infrastructure is about 50 years old, and we've not invested in the upgrade of that infrastructure over a period of time. And I think we took a deliberate decision at council for CAPEX to be moved towards those 4 entities. Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, City of Johannesburg. Let me then, new issue?
No. They didn't answer the question.
No, that's why I asked you to send the stuff.
Because what we asked Chair was...
Wait. Is it different from what I asked that you sent me?
But why are they not answering?
No, that's fine. But
Yeah.
is it the same?
It's in the same question.
Repeat the question and send it to me nevertheless.
Okay. No, the question was...
You need a mic?
Thanks, Chair. The question was, a person issues a tender that is a forbidden tender, and they know what is the rule in relation to that. Whether the systems were in you or were at CITAS or wherever, but due diligence should be done by a person before they sign off. And when AG picked that up, what did you do to a person who issued tenders of 977 million to relatives and friends and everyone of the municipality, and some to the companies owned by the officials of the municipality? That's the question.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not repeating it to them. I'm saying for you to note what also has not been answered. I think because I know that they write the questions. The issue of the bus contract and unlicensed buses was not touched on. The issue of how they are struggling to, how they are spending 10%, underspent 10% of infrastructure grants. Thank you.
Let's get responses. I said, let's get responses.
Okay.
Let's proceed.
If I can just respond to the one question, because the other one the Group CFO has responded to. The 972 million rand award, we are not prohibited from awarding to a family or a spouse, a partner or a child, in terms of the supply chain management regulations. What is required is that the person, the 972,
you're getting lost, completely lost. The question is, the member believes that this is prohibited, but he says the AG raises this question. A tender, 900 and something million to companies related to some of the colleagues and their families, and expected action to be taken. Your answer should be action taken. Don't take us there because we're going to argue with you. So the question is, what action was taken? So if you focus on that, no, I'm not saying give the mic. I'm saying you started wrong. Okay. Come back. Action. What action was taken? Just start from there. This is the action.
Okay, Chair, let me attempt to respond in terms of the action. The award has been disclosed in the financial statements of the city as required of the city to disclose such an award. There's a difference, Chair, between an award to persons that are in the employ of the state And,
Can
an
I
award
correct? Can I assist you again? The question is what action? Now, what I expect the municipality to say to me, this was investigated and the following was found, and this is the conclusion. Now, if it was not investigated, don't justify your practice. Just respond to, there was an investigation done. If there was no investigation, that ends the answer.
Okay. Chair, we did look into the matter, and what we...
Sorry,
what-
so you did investigate?
Yes.
No, you must say so.
Okay.
I don't want to say it for you because we're doing our own records. Did you investigate? For us, looking into the matter is anything. We want to know, the law allows you to investigate. So just say to us, we investigated, then we know where we are.
We investigated the matter, and it was found that the award was to a person, was to a director. Okay, let me put it. The investigation revealed that the company that we awarded to, one of the directors of that company has a spouse who is in parliament. And when we looked at whether or not would there have been undue influence or conflict of interest, we found that there was none. However, the declaration was then included in the financial statements of the city.
So there's a written report.
Yes, Chair.
Now, we are talking. So that's fine. The committee is going to ask you to send us that report.
Yeah, no thanks, Chair. Just to address the issue of the BRT buses, some that were not unlicensed, you'd recall that we appointed, it's the Bus Rapid Transport, we appointed 2 service providers, Piotrans and Ditsamaiso, who manage phase 1A and 1B. However, phase Piotrans went under business rescue, and they couldn't pay some of their creditors, and therefore they couldn't renew licenses of some of the buses that they had. And we obviously had to intervene with JMPD to ensure that those are paid. And hence we had a few buses that were unlicensed because they were not able to pay for some of the funds that they had. But that matter was since resolved because we had appointed a business rescue practitioner, and we've of course have now appointed for 1C, Ditsamaiso again, who are currently busy looking at incorporating the Piotrans into their operation. Thanks, Chair.
Are we done? Your questions? All right, thank you. I'd like us to close. So thank you very much for your responses. And I just want to say again, we want to we would like you to take note of the fact that whilst our role is ensuring accountability and consequence management, what we hope this exercise will assist you in is to change the culture of impunity and lack of investigations and strengthening the culture of consequence management so that we can improve on the audit outcomes and therefore impact positively on service delivery. So a number of issues of what has been raised by members that would like you to give attention and deal with. And let me say at this point, I would like the MEC to take note, because our approach is that we are requesting that you have certain actions taken, and we would like you to report every 3 months, and that report will go to the MEC, who will then obviously report that to the legislature and will also be sharing that report. And the idea is we would like to make sure that your audit outcomes in the next cycle is impacted positively, and that in the process, the culture of good governance, reducing dysfunctionality is entrenched. And on that basis, you are therefore going to be monitored, and reports will be supplied to the MEC. And that's part of the responsibility of the MEC and the provincial government to monitor the performance of municipalities, to support the performance of municipalities, and where there are challenges, they have to intervene. And that we will need to be able to say, if there was some transgression that was identified, then it cannot be repeated in the next cycle, because everyone would have learned from those interactions. So the areas based on the concerns of the Auditor General and the interaction with this committee that would like you to focus on, one is the issue of strengthening the financial management and controls. And here we would like the MEC to be able to monitor this. We need your plan of how you're going to deal with this, with targets and timelines. In particular, we need to eliminate the reliance on audit processes for outcomes. This has been done in the past. The Auditor General should not be assisting the municipality to get good outcomes. And secondly, is to improve the quality of published performance reports. These are issues that are part of what the Auditor General has raised. The second area is the area of debt management, particularly the whole issue of ESCOM, as well as avoiding or getting out of the adoption of unfunded budgets and the underspending of MIG. The member that referred to 10% underspending is an audit query that has been raised in the report we have. The third area is to deal with supply chain irregularities. In this case, the Auditor General raised the issue of a prohibited award, and the members have just elaborated on some of the issues that are involved at that level. So this would be for people who are for issuing the awards on entities which are trading, issuing contracts to avoid trading with entities that are managed by state officials. The third area is strengthening all the audit functions, starting with the MPEC. We had a lot of debate about that. Basically, we need the MPEC strengthened. And here, we need to focus on the past. Now, we will be dealing again with the Auditor General on this query where you say you actually have no backlogs of unprocessed UIFW. So the question of strengthening the MPEC is important. It seems to me part of what we're doing is actually also what the Auditor General had already commented about. There is an issue about revising the terms of reference of the Audit Committee, and I hope you'll be able to deal with that. There is the issue of the functionality of the disciplinary board, and I hope that you're going to deal with that. So all of those issues are linked to strengthening the audit function. The next group of issues relate to the investigation of the UIFW, and in this case, again, we just had our debate about whether you've done that or not, and we are saying we need evidence that the past has been dealt with and cleared, and we need here to resolve the issue raised by the Auditor General of the Council being able to implement the MPEC report. It's in the Auditor General's report. Then the next aspect of it relates to the implementation of the audit action plan. You have indicated that that's what you are doing, but in fact there is a specific comment of the Auditor General that the mayor has got a specific responsibility there. Please address that because it's in the report specifically. But in the process, you have raised the issue of UIF reduction strategy, and so what we would like to see is how you do that and what are your timelines that you are going to be able to achieve that. So we're interested in the timelines as we implement that, and we include in it the fact that you are targeting a clean audit. By when? So let's put that on the target. We want to monitor you on your own commitment, because you can target clean audit, but if you say in 2030, we think we might want to comment about whether that makes sense or not. Then of course, we do need a report broadly of issues of consequence management. I was now having this debate with the director, raising the fact that these are the things we have done. Okay, we want to know. Give us that report now. All of those things that you have had to do that are related to the audit processes. But what we want to make sure of is that there are consequences. In fact, I will repeat this when we get back to some of the reports that we want to see. So those are the actions that we would be asking the MEC to provide us information on how you are doing on those issues. That means on a continuous basis, if these issues are all addressed, we believe the municipality will be performing better, but we also will be knowing every now and again if there's a faltering in that process. Part of this joint oversight committee process is also ensure that there's a continuous monitoring at different levels that goes right up to the National Assembly. So I want to request you to provide us with the following. We need the legal opinion about the legal and other implications of migrating from the prepaid to the postpaid. I did indicate that it's a frightening story, and I hope that we will share that report with us so as to allay our fears. The second report we would like you to provide us is your plan of prevention of water losses. It's a big issue. The last time we were here, we discussed this matter, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the figure had gone up to, it was close to 47%. I can't recall, it was very high. So we would like to get your report on how you're addressing the water losses. Of course, I hope that you'll be able to give us even more information on your plans and the costs and the targets, particularly because there's been other issues that have been raised that relate to the issue of cost of water tankering and certain issues that are of concern there. The next issue was around the plan to eliminate electricity losses. Again, this would be something that we would like to keep an eye on, and you keep sharing with us at that level. I did mention that we need a report on the consequence management linked to MPEC processes, UIFW investigations. So we need that as one of those reports that we should get. The next report, and again, I'm going to ask that these reports will go via the provincial government so that they will also be taking the necessary actions where there's a need for their intervention. This is a report on investigations on criminal investigations of fraud, corruption within the city, and out of this we are also interested in a comment that indicates when those are a result of the Auditor General's referral process of your UIFW, and those where these are a result of your internal control systems, and where you've got whistleblowers. It's interesting for the committee to look at which, when you have referrals, which of those are as a result of your own system being able to demonstrate its checks and balances, and which ones of those are the result of the oversight played by the AG. So we want to be able to compare that. The best time would be when there's less coming from the AG and there's more coming from your own system. Then the link to that, let's have the report on the investigation of this 972 million tender that's been raised here, and the response that we got from the MMC has to be given to us in writing so we can follow what is happening. What is, I can say to you, MMC, uncomfortable is that with your presentation is when we have a report raised by the AG, and instead of getting the factual indication of what processes have been embarked on, we get more the justification of why it happened. Now, it doesn't augur well for us when we get that kind of response, because your role is to pick up the issues where the concerns are those of the public and the public institutions which are charged with oversight on these matters. Those would be the end of the issues that we would like, but we would also like the MEC to give us a report on the total debt owed by provincial and national government departments to Gauteng municipalities. I heard that the MMC and the Premier, there is a sense of resonance that there is a lot of synergy in trying to reduce those. We just want to see the figures, how this is happening. And if you are able to, you could do a comparison with a couple of years back just to see if there is movement in this regard based on the Premier's undertaking that there will be no sympathy to that to those debts. And it's important for us because in many places we have seen the need for this intervention, and a lot of municipalities struggling because the government departments owe them money. Again, we believe that that's important. The issues that you raised around the question of revenue, for us, it's an important point. Promising from the point of the 93% revenue collection, and I think our area of focus, can this be expanded? What about areas of people who are poor? Are you dealing and balancing it properly with the indigent policy? And so we want to always keep an eye at that level. That's why we are interested in the issue of your billing system and your migration from prepaid to postpaid, because there's a balance that has to be maintained. Services have to be paid for, the indigents must be protected, and all of them must get the services. And that for us is an important issue. So thank you very much to the Johannesburg team. We are done with you. So we would like to excuse you, and therefore we'll be taking a different team in the afternoon. There's a slight delay with our on our timelines, so we will take a break of 30 minutes for lunch, and we should be back at 3:05. And I don't have the speaker and the provincial host, so I am not able to announce any arrangements for lunch. I hope that someone is in charge is going to tell us what the arrangements are. Thank you very much. Oh, I see. Here's the boss. Thank you. Thank you very much, Johannesburg, City of Johannesburg. We are done. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Members of Parliament and the Legislature, the MEC, mayors and speakers will be hosted in the main dining hall, and everybody else can be served in the first room as you go up the stairs. Thank you very much.